Welcome to Berlin, Germany for round 1 of the LEC Spring Playoffs. It starts here for our 6 playoff teams, where all eyes are set on taking the first League of Legends European Championship title. Hello everyone, I'm Shoxius, and taking over the show with me today is Folius and Detective the Vedius. Hello there, dear Shoxius. It is a pleasure to be here on this fine day. And it is a pleasure to have you, Detective. Now, later today, we will have Vitality and Fnatic squaring up in round 1 of the LEC Spring Playoffs. But first, in the last half of the split, we've seen surprising changes in the performances of many of our teams in the LEC. We put our best sleuth on the case, and here to present his findings is Detective the Vedius. Well, naturally you would put a detective to solve these simple mysteries, Shoxius. First, we must look at Misfits. They failed to qualify for the LEC playoffs, and you might be wondering why. Well, I delved into the mystery and I found that the answer was quite simple. It was not a matter of a lack of skill. It was not a matter of a lack of talent. It was simply a matter of Moose, in fact, being an alien and stealing all of the powers from Misfits squad. I honestly can't believe that no one saw it sooner. Anyway, up next is Fnatic. Isn't it rather odd that in the second half of the split they just started winning? This resurgence just suddenly came out of nowhere? You might be thinking, ooh, they found synergy. They found the teamwork that they needed in order to find success. And that is why you're not a detective. The real answer is Basil Fnatic tea. They put it in their drinks and suddenly they feel revitalized, they feel refreshed. It is exactly what they need to find those wins and find that success. And honestly, it tastes rather lovely. You should give it a try. Anyway, up next we have G2, our final mystery of the day. You may be wondering why they've been floundering in the second half of the split. And the honest answer is, it is not Mickey's wrist issues, it's Medic. The dastardly caster has plagued them with some kind of curse that allows them to not play properly when they're on stage. It's ridiculous, and have you looked at his face? It looks awfully similar to my dear Dr. Medius, who for some reason isn't here. I'm sorry, I can't do this. This just feels entirely foreign and improper. I cannot get through my findings without my dear Dr. Medius. I take my leave for a moment. Medius! Medius, where are you? Medius! Come to me, my friend! Alrighty then, well, we'll see more of G2 and Fnatic in the coming weeks in their battle for the crown. But this isn't the only title that is up for grabs. Throughout the week, we've been tabulating votes submitted by LEC organizations and partners to determine who will be LEC's first MVP. For a special edition of Medic's Playoff Checkup, we sent it to Flexius to break down the MVP frontrunners. Yeah, thank you, Shoxius. And hello, my people. It's your boy, Flexius. Woo! I'm back, and I'm here to talk about some MVP stuff. Now, when it came to calculating and tabulating and mathematicating who the MVP was gonna be, I left that stuff to the nerds. I took quick shots, quick stats, and I fluxed on it. Woo! Now, it's clear to me that when it comes down to who takes the MVP title, there's only one scale that matters. Who flexed and who got flexed on. Now, it was a tight race with Medic and Broxah's biceps being neck and neck. But in the end, there was only one MVP, the most valuable flexer. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? It's me! Of course it's me! Woo! Who else can it be than the original OG Flex King? I wanna thank Medi. I wanna thank Vidi, the original duo that helped me be the best flexer in the business. Woo! Thank you. Now, to my main man in the kitchen who flexes on every diet plan, Chefius, flex on them stuff.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're here in my kitchen, Chef Yes's kitchen, and because we're on a special edition of VoD Check, we're going to be looking at a special build today. Now, we're going to go into my cooking device here, and we're going to bring out something that I've prepared just for Vedius. As you'll see, this is a Nocturne mid lane build, filled with the build completely. The champion is ready, but it's not quite a perfect meal yet. In order to have the perfect Nocturne mid lane, you need the appropriate dressing. So what we're going to do is we're going to very lightly put the Nocturne mid lane, here we are, grab him nice and soft, put him on, bang, and there you go. The wonderful Nocturne in the mid lane. It's the build, it's the one you need, full of lethality. Get that extra greenery in there, hide in the shrubbery, and you're ready to get a lot of kills. That's going to be it here. Back to you at the analyst zone.
Thank you, Sheffius, for that great insight into Nocturne mid. Now, as you can see, my analyst desk has fallen apart just a bit. So while I wrangle my team back together and find another cue card, over on All Esports, you'll have a chance to watch our newest episode of Behind the Streamius. Here's an exclusive sneak peek.
Hey everyone, I'd really like your attention for a real quick minute. I just want to pitch a new idea. I put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I think it's gonna revolutionize Ready Check. It's called VoD Check.
That's just bad.
Yeah,
It's just really like narcissistic. It's actually terrible. It's already super convoluted in this various cinematic
Maybe you
universe.
could work for Countdown, but...
Countdown. Mark Z would definitely do Countdown. This is honestly the worst thing I've ever heard.
Look, it might be a few days early, but happy April Fools, everybody, body. Anyways, nevertheless, it starts here. The 2019 LEC Spring Playoffs, where the top 6 teams from the regular season compete for the championship. Before we get to the games, we need to remind everybody of how the teams got to playoffs and who did not. It starts with Rogue and XL dropping out of contention earlier than the rest, and then we turn our attention to the super team Misfits. They failed to show a consistent level of play, and their star-studded roster simply wasn't able to adapt to the competition. A similar story, but maybe an even more depressing one, was that of Schalke 04. Our 2018 Summer Split finalists made it all the way to a tiebreaker game for the final spot in the postseason. But unfortunately, they crumbled and ended another split without a playoff berth. The thing is, though, it wasn't all sad stories. World representatives Vitality put together enough wins to show that they are contenders. However, they lacked the consistency to be considered a top 3 team. Vitality step into the playoffs as something to prove to you guys, the fans, as well as to themselves. The former champions G2 Esports made the biggest roster moves of the preseason. They secured caps in the mid lane, they had Perks roll swap to the bot lane, and this powerhouse of European talent locked in the first seed and a guaranteed seat at Rotterdam. But they need to shake off the losses from the second half of the split and return to their earlier form to truly take the title back. As we ramped up the pressure towards playoffs, our second seed from the regular season, Origin, made it clear that their sights are set on winning. Adaptive playstyles, consistent performances, solid teamwork, it is what defines this squad. They will be facing off against G2 Esports next weekend in round 2 of the playoffs, and they are also guaranteed to attend Rotterdam. The Fnatic faithful have been rewarded after it looked like this term was going to crash and burn. Fnatic started the season going 1-5, and just when you thought that they were done, they turned it all around. They're entering the playoffs on an 8-game winning streak. They are the statistical best team in the second half of the split, and they are the back-to-back defending champions. The question on everybody's mind is, can they run the gauntlet and win yet another European Championship? It starts here as Fnatic take on Vitality in the first match of the LEC playoffs. And it's important to remind everybody that the LEC playoff format is different from previous years.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the LEC. Now we've made a few changes to our format, and it's pretty straightforward. So without further ado, let's take a look. During the regular season, our 10 teams will compete against each other in a double round robin best-of-1 format over 9 weeks. Now it's time for the playoffs. Each match will be played in a best-of-5. To start off, in round 1, teams ranked 3 to 6 will face off, but with a catch. Team number 3 will have a choice of playing team number 5 or team number 6. For this video's sake, let's say they choose team number 5, which means that team number 4 will play against team number 6. In round 2, not only do we get the winners from the previous week fighting it out, but also get to see 2 juggernauts in team number 1 taking on team number 2. Now it's on to round 3, with the winner of the juggernauts moving directly into the finals. On Saturday, April 13th, the loser of match 4 will play the winner of match 3, And on Sunday, we've got the cream of the crop, playing against one another for a winner-take-all. We hope you like the new playoffs format. Thanks for watching.
Well, that was a good breakdown of the new playoff format. My name is Eva Shock supporter here with Andrew Veriestay and our special guest for the next 2 days, Martin Officio, Lunge. The band's back together. I'm actually very, very happy that you both are opening up the playoffs here.
I'm happy we have like 10 different kinds of Veris. I'm not even sure which one it is.
It's the OG, my friend.
That's the OG
one. We
one.
worked together all of last year. The original Prediction King.
That's true. I leave for one split and Twitter wins the prediction game.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm disappointed.
We need you back. You need to take over. Also, I'm just, I can't stand that Shoxy has looked better in that dress. But we're going to move on, and we're going to focus on the playoffs, because as we saw, of course, we have a new format, and every series is a best of 5. Now, G2 and OG, which will make Officio very happy, they're both locked in Rotterdam, because even if you lose that match, which you probably will, you could still end up and be in the final in Rotterdam if you get that rematch.
Listen, a week before the regular season ended, I hated this format because I wasn't sure if we were going to get second place and guarantee that winner's match where we can again get 2 chances to go into the final. Now I absolutely love the format. But it is actually very exciting. I love the fact that we get that first test with G2. Maybe they get a game, who knows?
Maybe.
And then we can take them on in the final again.
Yeah, so we start with the round 1 today. That will be Fnatic versus Vitality, and then SK versus Splice tomorrow. But also important to note is that in Rotterdam, now we know already that G2 and OG are going to be there. On Saturday, we'll have the semifinal, and on Sunday, we'll have the final. And if you want tickets, you can get them at eu.lolesports.com/Rotterdam. Now, the teams are, of course, fighting for the first ever LEC title, and we wanted to discuss which were the teams that looked the strongest going into the playoffs. And I do want to start with the reigning champions, because I feel like sometimes during the split, because they started so awfully, I forgot that they were the reigning champions. But that's not the case. They are here to defend their title, Fnatic, and after a horrible start, they completely turned it around. What happened?
They certainly have. One of the biggest things was that they shaped up their early game. We saw Broxah having a much effective time in terms of setting up advantages for his team at the start of the game, along with just individuals performing better. Rekkles and Hylissang seem to have a lot more trust within each other, and Bwipo, he's a little bit more consistent in the top side of the map, and Nemesis finding his form. So I feel like that the whole team had a lot more faith in each other. They found a way in order to play the game that worked for everyone, and because of the individual talent they have, they're finding a lot of success.
Yeah, I think the fact that they realized you don't have to play all kinds of crazy stuff if you're Fnatic to win games. You can actually keep it really, really simple and focus on either your super strong bot lane with Rekkles and Hylissang, or actually Bwipo being very strong on certain carries in the top lane. Once they figured out, let's pick for early game, let's keep it simple with our drafts. Nemesis is not Caps. He doesn't need to play like Caps. He doesn't need to be the crazy guy who can win you the game alone. You can actually play more as a team. They started looking a lot better. And I'm pretty sad that right behind me, it actually started at week 6.
With OG.
Where they completely destroyed us after winning the bot lane very, very hard. And that kind of started the entire snowball for Fnatic.
Basically, you guys are to thank for the fact that Fnatic is on a roll.
I guess we can take credit for that.
Yeah, great stuff. And now another team we got to talk about is G2 Esports. Now, we know they've struggled in the last couple of weeks, but we also know that that was because Mickey X wasn't feeling too well. Now, I do want to put your attention on these stats. The fact that in the last weeks, Fnatic has been better in the early game, and not a lot. No, a lot. That's what I meant, actually. But much better than G2 in the early game, to the point that they would probably crush them if they met now. But the big question is, what G2 are we going to see?
Well, I mean, we look back at the last time they played, and that's exactly what happened, Shocks. The early game was just entirely Fnatic favored. And I think G2 had a lot of strengths for the majority of the split, in the sense of they had flex picks across the board. They could guarantee strong matchups literally whenever and wherever they wanted. And individually, they just couldn't be competed with. But one of the big things is, as the split progressed, I think teams got better, drafts improved, the number of flex picks got limited, and there was, of course, the issue with Mickey in the bot lane.
Yeah, and that's kind of the scary thing now, because it feels a little bit like a trap with this whole G2 now weaker in the second half. Because again, they were very vocal about not practicing as much. Obviously, Mickey having to step back, Promiscu coming in. We don't know who's actually playing next week against us. So it makes it hard to predict what team are you actually facing? Will it be the team where Perkz and Mickey as a dual lane are actually doing really well early? Or will it be the team where you can see that Perkz and Promiscu are kind of lacking some synergy and it could suddenly be a lot easier to play against the bot lane?
Well, if you then look at Origin, then maybe you're very happy because you beat them in the split when they weren't dealing with the issues, right? They were doing quite well.
True, yeah. I think the game we had against them where we got the Z pick for Nukeduck and it was like a really smart draft, probably surprised them a little bit, and we managed to get some early kills around the mid lane to actually snowball. Showed that you can, of course, beat G2 even in the start of the split when they were so good. I just think a lot of it's gonna come down to the drafting. Obviously, you can't risk ending up in a situation where they get counter pick in multiple lanes due to flex picks with Wonder, Caps, these kind of players. They will just take over the game. But if you can actually get an advantage there, suddenly G2 are more human.
And sell Origin to me. Come on, tell me. Why are they the best team coming into playoffs?
I mean, I'm just excited to see us in a best of 5.
Yeah.
I think we have insanely smart players. We have a super smart coach as well. So in between games, I think there can be a lot of really good adaptations. If we lose a game or if something goes wrong in a game, even if we manage to win it, we can then adjust and fix that for the next game. I think it's going to be a big strength. So I'm just excited to see this lineup play the first best of 5. And I'm happy it's against G2, bring it on.
And for me, what's really exciting is so many of these players having the opportunity to now be in this position. A big redemption arc for Mythy, Alphari, Cold, Patrick. Nukeduck, he was in the finals last bit, but failed to qualify for Worlds. A lot of big storylines on the lines for a lot of these players. And to beat G2 next week would definitely be a big thing for them.
Something quick you can think about. We'll get back to it later. 6 teams in playoffs. We only mentioned 3. I don't know. There must be some things we forget to talk about. Vitality's in there, Splice, SK. But I'll leave you to stew on it because first we are going to take a look at some specific players coming up in the playoffs. Quick shot. Who do you have your eye on?
Well, it's really tough to pick a few, and I think I'm going to intentionally ignore the obvious players like Caps, Rekkles, Kobbe, Nukeduck. Everybody's already watching these guys, so I would like to shine a light on a few others. 3 in particular, starting with the All-Pro first-team top laner, Cabochard. This man has been destroying top lane all split long, with top-tier carry performances like this Olaf taking on Rogue. Cabochard has gone toe-to-toe with some of the best players in the league, and he will need to deliver if he wants to help Vitality overcome Fnatic today. Now, tomorrow, the up-and-coming jungle superstar Selfmade. He's playing for SK Gaming and his first ever LEC playoffs. SK Gaming simply are not a winning team if Selfmade is not participating in the action. 81% kill participation at 15 minutes, the leader in the league. He is the most important single player that determines if a team will win or will lose, and he'll be the guy that I'm watching tomorrow up against Splice. Finally, the analyst has talked about a little bit, Mickey. He is widely regarded as the best support player in all of Europe. He earned more than double the points of the second All-Pro support, Hylissang, and he is also nursing an injury. Mickey was subbed out of G2's Week 9 roster to rest, to recuperate, and he needs to come back in form if he wants to help Perkz and G2 win the trophy that they lost to Fnatic. Remember that G2 esports take on Origin next weekend in the second round of playoffs. I can't wait to see all the teams leave everything out on the Rift, Sharks.
Yeah, I agree, of course, and that's why actually I asked the question before we went over to Quick Shot. It's so easy to talk about Fnatic, defending champions, G2 who crushed it, Origin because they have the Fischio, but there's 3 other teams in those playoffs. Are we forgetting to talk about that, or do you realistically think it is a 3-horse race?
So I think that when it comes to battling for the title, to me it feels very much like a 3-horse race. I think something that Deficio and I were talking a lot about earlier on before the show was that individually, I think a lot of the teams can't actually stack up to some of the top teams that we currently have, but also just in their teamwork, either a single member is shining that's helping carry them through, and that means that there's big weaknesses in the 5-man unit that can often be exploited.
Yeah, well, when you say dark horse, I think about Vitality more often than not, and Fnatic is up versus Vitality here in our very first match in best of 5, and this is what makes it so interesting. 2 very good stories. Fnatic, we've seen them lifting the trophy twice last year. Today, or this year, it was more up and down, but they can be proud of what they achieved, and they will not want to lose that throne.
I mean, I think last year, every single European fan would always talk about Fnatic. They win both splits, they competed at MSI, they competed at Worlds, make it all the way to the final. Like, everything worked for Fnatic last year. So obviously when you have this start to the new split without caps and you start seeing them lose games, everyone gets really concerned all of a sudden. But I'm actually very happy that this team has managed to find the correct playstyle for them and are now bouncing back and looking like one of the favorites again, because this is Europe. We need Fnatic as a top team. Whenever Fnatic is a top team, we have some great players.
Yeah, but Vitality will want something to say about that. And when we look at their story of the whole year, 2018 was phenomenal for them. They came in, they had the rookies and the veterans. They just went up and up and up, ending at the elite, with the elite of Europe, I should say, at the end of the year. And then, of course, having an insane showing at Worlds. But what have we seen from them this year? It doesn't seem like it went straight up, for me at least.
No, I think that coming into the split, they were expected to be heavy favorites, right? They only changed a single member in Mowgli. Many consider that to be an upgrade. Former FLICKR Freaks member, while they did qualify for Worlds, didn't have the best success, but still optimistic around their chances. And even Yamato was coming into the split saying, there's no reason why we shouldn't achieve more than what we did last year. It should be finals, guaranteed. And they started off the split very strong, but as the split progressed and the meta kind of shifted, it felt like Vitality started to struggle.
I also think there's more teams this split with better rosters, like stacked rosters where individually Vitality not getting the upper hand like they did maybe last year against a lot of the teams in Europe. So you're no longer winning games based on individual skill or just like pure aggression where you surprise people. Teams now know how you play and they can match your different players in all the different lanes. So Vitality kind of need to find something new that they can actually hold on to and use to win games against at least the best teams.
Would you say, do you think or do you suspect that that quality they had last year to sometimes beat the best in the world, like at Worlds, is that still there? And could that come out these playoffs?
It's a great question. I think if Vitality have used the 2 weeks to actually just practice one specific style and find a couple of picks that you're maybe not expecting in some different lanes, especially carry lanes, and use that to surprise someone like Fnatic, suddenly we can see them again actually show up big time. And yes, then they can compete against the best. But I need to see that spark. I need to see something new.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Of course, both teams, they changed merely one member coming into this year. But I think for Fnatic, it was quite a shocker to everyone that they lost Caps and then replaced him with Nemesis, a prodigy, of course, coming also from the Superliga. But he took a bit of time to get there, you know, and I almost feel like they wanted to plug and play him in, but they had to work very, very hard to get there.
They certainly did, and finding a style in which they could work around him was always going to take time. And one of the things that we heard from your why am I calling him Yamato Cannon? Youngbuck. Youngbuck is the word I'm looking for.
Youngbuck Cannon.
Yeah. We heard words from Youngbuck where he came into the split very overconfident. And he felt like not much work needed to be done. But as the split progressed, he realized that they needed to change how they approach the game. They needed to train how they practice. And I feel like now they are much more of a cohesive unit. And we're seeing a return to form for many of those star players.
Yeah, and when it comes to those best of fives, of course, we can trust on both Yamato Cannon and Youngbuck to bring that whole bag of tricks and strategies. And for Fnatic, there's one specific strategy that could give them a flying start, and Medic's going to break it down for you.
Thank you very much, Shox. Now, before we go live in this best of 5, I want to take a minute to talk about Fnatic's great second half to the split, and specifically about how they use creative level 1s to get an early game lead. So what's so good about Fnatic's level 1s? Well, let's go back to week 6, the last time Fnatic played against Vitality. Broxah is on Nocturne in the jungle, a jungler that relies on getting level 6 early. You can see Elise here tries to put the ward down. Vitality can smell something sneaky's coming in. Broxah clears it out with the Oracle's Lens and then comes into the jungle. Vitality are now split on 3 different fronts. Got Cabo in the top, Mowgli down here, and Jiizuké forced down towards the mid lane as well. Fizz needs to get that mid lane experience up against a Zoe, otherwise he'll lose the lane too easily, and so Fnatic are able to steal away the red buff very, very simply. Usually, this would lead to vertical jungling. You'd split the map down the middle, Broxah would get the top half, and Mowgli would get the bottom half. But what happens in this case is Fnatic use the fact they have push in the mid lane with the Zoe, and the fact that Broxah can come down to this bottom side scuttle very quickly to make sure that they stop Mowgli getting onto the other side of the map. This means that Broxah gets 3 buffs instead of just the usual 2, and has a huge experience advantage over Mowgli. So what this also does is it makes Mowgli very easy to track in the early game. You know there are limited camps he can take in his jungle, and it means that even if you don't have vision on him, Fnatic can actually predict where Mowgli's going to be pretty easy. Well, I've shown you how it works, but why is this so important in the matchup? Vitality are a team that are known to rely on Mowgli and Cabochard to get them early game leads. If Broxah and Fnatic can consistently shut down the Vitality jungler like they did in Week 6, they can stop him from making any early game plays, not only by denying him experience and gold, but also by making him so easy to predict. By doing this, they actually eliminate one of the key win conditions for Vitality, and also they set their own early game up for success. Back to you, Shox.
Thank you very much. Indeed, yeah, we know about Fnatic. They love those level 1 strategies, but I also found it very interesting that Medic pointed out that they couldn't do that versus Vitality because Mowgli often does the same thing. And I know we were talking about this beforehand. He's a bit predictable at times when it comes to his pathing.
Yeah, and also just his playstyle is extremely focused on trying to find the enemy jungler and like invade him and see if you can duel him 1v1 while they try and have some push in mid and top lane. But I think in this specific game here, like the example we just showed, really shows how Fnatic have understood, okay, in our drafts, if we get especially a top lane we need to play around, let's try and cut the map in half. So when they invade that red buff and force Mowgli to bottom side, well, that means he can't gank Bwipo in the early game on a Yorick. And if you do that to Mowgli, you actually really stop the way he likes to play the game. He can't go top for Cabochard, he can't invade topside jungle, and then he kind of doesn't know what to do, and he just kind of walks around the map a little bit waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, that could be super influential in this one. I feel like we're talking a lot about the positives of Fnatic. That is recency bias, but I think it's also justified because they went on that winning streak. But I do want to put the attention on Vitality again because we know they can do better than what we've seen from them in the second half. And I think we're always being lured into this fact that they're the underdogs when their ceiling is so incredibly high. What are kind of the things that they could pack out with coming into these playoffs?
Well, I think expectations are coming into this week that they will look to play around the top side of the map. I feel like Cabochard has been the best performing player on this roster. It feels like that this is the lane that Mowgli is used to playing around. And I just feel like that for Vitality, one of the best ways in which they can gain advantages and have reliably done so is to just set up the all-pro top laner from this split for success.
Yeah, and I think it starts in the draft. First of all, Cabochard plays so many different things. He was the guy who introduced Lucian top lane back in the day. Like, he's not afraid of pulling out these crazy counter picks. And if you're actually drafting for him with some flex picks where you might move it to jungle if it's a bad matchup for him, or you take a top to surprise someone like Bwipo, who likes to overextend, who likes to play aggressive, you are suddenly finding an easy lane to gank. But I also think, if you look at Vitality as a team, while we can talk about the great things that Cabochard can do, I think this matchup is actually won by some of the weaker lanes who struggle a little bit the last few weeks, really stepping up. Bot lane, if you're picking a 50-50 matchup and you're trying to perma-gank top, then Jactroll and Attila, they cannot make mistakes and fall behind. They have to hold their own against Rekkles, Hylissang, probably Broxah, probably Nemesis as well. So it's not easy, but they need that bot lane to be stable if they're going to play heavy to top side.
And they then also need that top side to become Super Saiyan today.
Of course.
Is it a right way to TLDR that Cabochard can win you the game? He would never lose you the game. Bwipo can win you the game, but he damn well also can lose you a game.
I think in the second half, Bwipo has become a lot more consistent and that he's less likely to do that. But I definitely do agree that he has a point at which he likes to win his lane and he likes to play confidently. But I think that now he has a lot more trust in his teammates. That he shows a lot more respect to his opponents. And I hope coming today, he shows that respect to Cabochard.
But then there's the pride point. Now it's the playoffs. You know, he might say, listen, I know Rekkles can carry this game because he's winning his bot lane. But Cabochard was voted the best top laner in Europe.
For a reason.
Let's see if we can beat him 1v1.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to give you guys at home also the choice because one of these top laners will be featured in our POV stream on twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And you guys can choose which one. Spam in chat, Cabochard or Bwipo. And then that's the person we will look at the POV stream for this entire best of 5. And now, le moment suprême, the predictions. Let's take a look. Let's see if we're surprised at all. Fnatic, including the fan.
Still got
votes.
an XX there, Deficio.
Yeah.
I
What's
put 3-0.
3-0.
Apparently we couldn't write that. It was like, no, we can't show
That's
this.
too harsh for
You're
Vitality.
voting the same as the fans. Perhaps you've lost your mojo and need to rely on help.
Or maybe my votes all split long has actually been the fan votes. And that's why the fan vote has been winning. 3-0 Fnatic.
Yeah, 3-0 Fnatic, very convincing. Why is it that the reigning champions aren't going to drop the ball?
Well, I'm 3-1 for Fnatic personally, because I think the one thing about Vitality, something you've said before, they have a very high ceiling. And I think that in a best of 5, they have the ability to showcase it, and they can beat the best in the world. But that lack of consistency is what means that I don't think they're going to take a win against Fnatic.
Yeah, and because of that, I think this is going to be a super high best of 5 to kick the playoffs off with, to see where Vitality can go and to see if Fnatic, the reigning champions, can keep their winning streak going. We're kicking off the very first LEC playoffs with a bang as the 7-time champions go up against Vitality, a team looking to conquer the odds yet again.
I lived more in these 3 years than I lived in my entire life. My family, well, never agreed to anything like this. I just left my house to chase my dream. Probably the hardest decision in my life.
Jiizuké looking for the outplay. He wants one more, and he's gonna get in trouble.
If I fail, I don't have a home to go back to, or even if I had, I don't want to go back there.
My parents always had this idea on their minds. I want my son to be an engineer. I want my son to be a doctor. I basically ignoring every single one and did what I did best. Everybody turned the back on me, even my family. From there on, I just kept grinding and grinding against all odds. Here we are. If I dream of something, I just work hard to achieve it. If that fails, then I don't have anything else.
Joey came up to me and he told me, as his hand was broken, he can't play. You're playing semi-finals and finals. Felt like that opportunity was not something I worked for. So the way I got rid of that feeling was just by being cocky. I think I'm good enough at the game, and I'm going to play my game, and I'm going to show everyone that I am good enough.
By Hylissang, the damage hasn't come out yet.
My time in Elements was the worst period of my career, and I was really lucky to get a second chance in Fnatic again.
Only Rekkles remains.
So Fnatic will take this win and deny playoffs from Elements and Rekkles.
2015 was like a restart for me in my career because I didn't really have this safety anymore. I actually needed to step up and show that I was where I deserved to be.
If we actually managed to win against a team that went to World Finals, which is no much for the other teams.
Oh my! Just deliver it to him.
Almost takes down upset. Attila does it. Picks up the kill.
Can Rekkles do enough? No, a great wall of duet stuff. Jiizuké lands it on 3 again, and they're just going to turn it around. The jump onto the backline, Fnatic get cleaned off the face of Summoners ripped by Vitality.
2019, it started off pretty grim. We all had high expectations. Went into the Bluesing, got smashed by G2, lost to SK again.
Even if you only change one player, it's still a huge deal, and we didn't really, at least in my eyes, take it as one.
The biggest thing that changed is trust. And then once the trust came, we became teammates.
Rekkles uses the tower perks, the first of all. Nemesis gets it. Oh, Caps caught out.
Hello, Caps. Confidence to make that kind of a play.
Oh, Rekkles dodged the petrifying gaze for perks. G2 were looking for the win. Can they pull it off? Oh, the Nexus. No way. No way. There's no flipping way you can do that to them.
Either we're here to win the whole thing, or we're not here at all.
When I saw that Fnatic picked us, they really didn't learn anything from World Finals. They just wanted to experience it again.
They play through top lane, and if the enemy top laner is good enough not to break, then Vitality can't win the game.
If we manage to take them out in the first round, we're just going through everything else.
Our entire lives are a story of the odds being against us. And we conquer those odds.
What a way to start the playoffs. LEC, and just 2 fantastic teams going toe-to-toe. A surging Fnatic, strongest team in the second half, up against Vitality, constantly touted as underdogs, but never to be underestimated. I'm Dan Drakos, bringing this series along with Christy Froskurinn and Indiana Froskurinn Black. I mean, I know you're really right. You're both trying to stay really composed, but we are obviously jumping up and down a lot during that trailer. We're trying to be cool with it right now, but it's exciting. It's hype.
I mean, just listening to that, right? Watching the journeys that these players went through to get here from 2018 to 2019 and the regular season, both of these teams here have something to prove and want to move on.
And it's about grudge match. You know, the fact that Fnatic snap-grabbed Vitality before Schalke and SK was even over. Like, this is who we want to defeat. This is going to be easy. We talked to Bwipo all day on EU4. The confidence is so high for Fnatic here.
And of course, speaking of Bwipo, as we enter Champion Select, you guys did vote for Bwipo to be featured in our POV stream. You can check that out over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And in Game 2, we'll have one of the mid laners, and you guys are going to get a chance to vote later in the day. For now, though, Champion Select now stands ahead of us. Both teams getting ready to get on the Rift. In 9-6, a new patch for us. We've seen some of the Academy teams in NA get a chance. Some of the smaller regions get a chance to take a crack at it. I want to see LEC's take on patch 9.6.
Yeah, the question is, with champions like Kayle being buffed and enabled, Sylas returning to the Rift as well, Urgot maybe making an appearance in the jungler, there are so many new options, I feel, for these teams to have practiced during their off week.
There's also the fact that Sona Taric could make a surprise showing here in the playoffs, but I hope that we're not in that world as we enter the first round of
Don't you dare
advance.
curse the playoffs run already, Froskurinn. Let's hope not. But Jayce banned out, Draven banned out, Sylas going to follow as well. Of course, re-enabled now this week. So far, no surprises. Really, the first one that's interesting is the Nocturne now coming in.
Yeah, and I think for Fnatic, this is something we see done against Vitality a lot, where you have the strong AD carry laner for Attila, the Draven being banned away, and then these lane-dominant champions for Cabochard being removed. But when you have Vitality on the Rift, you always look towards picks like the Jarvan that they love to flex around and wonder, with that not banned away, how high does a team like Fnatic value taking that away?
And now that we've seen it actually hit the ban bench, I do want to put a magnifying glass over the Hecarim pick. That is a Hecarim top that has been flying around the solo queue. Can be flexed into the jungle, but normally in the top lane, and I expect it to be pick or banned every game this series.
And notice here that Lucian is left up and available. Now, more often than not, when that pick is up and Fnatic are blue side, they look to secure that from Rekkles. And now with the Braum being hovered on the other side, Vitality could very easily secure themselves a strong bot lane 2v2.
And a lot of pressure then onto Attila and Jactroll to make the most out of those priority picks. If it does end up being a Lucian here, Braum, of course, strong in just about any situation, so securing early makes a lot of sense. Jarvan, interesting enough, a flex pick for Vitality will be the second lock-in.
What's interesting for me is kind of where these teams put their priority. You already mentioned that Fnatic love to grab a lot of firepower early for Rekkles, a lot of lane-dominant champions like that Lucian. On the other side for Vitality, they love using the flex pick of the Jarvan between Cabochard and Mowgli. They will sacrifice almost everything to create a strong side of the map top side. Bwipo said it, if you don't crack under Cabo, you can just win the game against Vitality. But if Cabo has his way with you, there's a reason why he's the most dominant top laner in the LEC.
There absolutely is. And now that we see Fnatic pick up this Lissandra for themselves, something that Vitality often do is save counter pick in mid lane for Jiizuké. But we see Lissandra, we're reasonably sure that's going mid lane for Nemesis. I think this is a time for Jiizuké to pull out a pick like the Zoe to counter it against.
Don't I hear the crowd go, ooh, Vayne throwing down the gauntlet. I was peeking in at the solo queue. Everyone in the LEC is spamming this champion. Rekkles has been driving it home, putting in the time, putting in the numbers on Vayne. He's ready.
And now I just want to see what it's going to look like and how Vitality are going to choose to respond to this. Talia now coming in. This is something that we've seen so much in Jiizuké solo queue, but we've also seen it in the hands of so many different junglers. It can be that flex pick.
That was the thing. Most recently, RNG's Karsa took Talia. They did use it as a flex pick between Xiaohu and Karsa in that jungle position, so still a lot of flex options for Vitality, Jarvan as well as Talia. Fnatic don't know for sure where anything is going.
And what this Talia picks gives Vitality is something they always look for. It's strong side-laning champions. So this Talia, if it does go into the mid lane, has such a strong ability to collapse on a Cabochard lane and get them ahead, or later in the game, go into a side lane and really play this 1-3-1 style.
And I feel like second ban phase for Vitality should be about throwing everything at Bwipo. I expect a Renekton and possibly an Aatrox ban to come out because they really want to sculpt that matchup and make sure that they get a winning top side of the map.
And my question now is whether or not Fnatic actually banned the Lucian, because we've seen a couple of times now that bot laners like taking the Vayne into the Lucian, not necessarily because you win in lane, because you don't. Lucian basically wins every single 2 versus 2, but Vayne outscales in the 1v1 matchup and also in the team fight. She's able to output a lot more damage, and with Fnatic looking to focus around the bottom side, I'm not even sure if Vitality want to take an aggressive ADC like Lucian.
And we'll find out, but for now, Froskurinn, your prediction reigning true, limiting some of those safe blind flank picks for Bwipo, trying to make sure that these counter picks can find their mark, or rather flex picks can find their mark. That is the Aatrox and the Renekton, both taken off the table.
And then I would hope to see Fnatic ban Zoe here. It's kind of the big other champion that's left open. Or maybe you take a right turn, you go with the Rise. But with Talia being there as the flex option, it might be forced, like you're saying, to double ban ADC. And that's a right turn.
Yeah, I think Fnatic are expecting the Talia in the mid lane. But even if Talia were to go in jungle, having another AP champion in mid is a lot of AP. That's something we actually see as a problem for teams that run Karthus in the jungle, is when you have too much ability power on your team, tanks on the other side can stack the resistances and give you a better chance in the team fight.
And you can see Attila on your screen talking very heavily with Yamato Cannon behind him, trying to figure out what option he was going to go for. They decide on the safest option, the Lucian Braum. We know how devastating this combo can be in that lane phase, which is why I would love a response of Thresh from Hilly right there. Not only to also have kill pressure if it's a 3v3, those junglers go bottom, but also to keep that Vayne safe.
Now taking his time, though, on the lock-in here. Will it be the Thresh? Will it be the Ornn coming through? But instead, Galio, of course, still a very high priority support pick, but instead it is going to be the Alistar, the last minute swap over, but this is an old school kill lane combo. So much CC between these two guys if they can get combo, but going toe to toe with another incredibly powerful lane in the Braum Lucian.
And I think Fnatic are realizing that they maybe lack a little bit in terms of hard engage. When you have the Karthus in the jungle, you don't have a lot of those tools. So they have the Lissandra, now they have the Alistar as well to combo up with it, and it's Bwipo going back towards the gangplank. He played this against Wonder's Rise in the G2 game, and it went horribly. But Fnatic like this as a safe, flexible option, because remember, you can still flip that around between the Lissandra.
You also have to think that when you have a gangplank and you have a Karthus, your ability to fight on the map globally is astronomical. If anything ever happens into the bottom lane, both those characters press R, and Rekkles is fighting a 2v4.
Yeah, that ultimate is also just insane initiation from long range. If you just slow people down, you can go fly and wait a second.
Oh, we talked about it. Cabochard, the master of creative picks. It is the return. People want to give credit where it's not due. This is the OG top Lucian right here. Gambit Cabochard, alive and well, showing up on this stage today to try to find a win for Vitality.
And let's be very clear, this is a miserable matchup for the Gangplank. Lucian can double tap his barrels. That means in the 1v1, Gangplank will literally never be able to proc his barrel for damage. It's so brutal, and the range advantage, you already saw it with the Rise versus GP matchup, is so tough to deal with.
And we're going to see that matchup as we get into game, of course. Once again, POV perfected for Bwipo. See if he gets to do anything in that lane phase. But now I want to shift our attention back to the compositions.
And I do want to kind of quickly take a moment to say the fact that Vitality are revealing this in game one. Yes, it could just be a niche counter pick. You're talking about the dynamics with the Gangplank, trying to punish that pick that Fnatic have gone to in the regular season and went back into playoffs. But we talked about this best of 5 strategy. Throw everything out that you know about best 1. This is a completely different ballgame, and already off the bat, they show the trump card. We have the Lucian top. We've prepared it. If it doesn't work, dead in the water in game 1. You're already down. If it does work, suddenly the dynamics of this best of 5 change dramatically.
Vitality have revealed a new pick, but they are not changing their style. This is tried and true Vitality from the regular season. Now, this is one of the most lane-dominant champions we have seen Cabochard on, probably the most lane-dominant pick we have seen him on this entire split, and now it is up to him and the rest of Vitality to go up and challenge Fnatic.
What a perfect way, once again, to start off the first LEC playoffs, the first best of 5. Fnatic versus Vitality. Rekkles is Vayne. Got Bwipo on the gangplank. So many signature picks now coming through with Cabo. Puts the Lucian into his hands. Who will come out on top? Number one question in our mind as we kick off this series.
Pretty clear with the 6th man, the crowd behind the Fnatic fans right now, but we do have a moment we can talk about the level 1s. The analyst desk spoke about it. I know there's a great article on LoL Esports right now that talks about it. Fnatic love to use early level 1, possibly delayed invades to split the map.
Ooh, but Hylissang may be caught out by a level 1 from Vitality. Jiizuké uses the threaded volley, lays down a bit of damage, but it's not going to amount to much.
Now with Cabochard actually revealing himself on the bottom side of the map, I actually didn't think with this comp, Fnatic could walk in to the top side of Vitality's jungle, but with the Lucian revealing, now it gives them time to put down the vision and set up safety for Bwipo.
And that's the thing, they want to make sure that Gangplank will be undisturbed in this matchup, because while he's going to struggle against Lucian, the way that you make that worse is if you dive the Gangplank, if you're constantly ganking the Gangplank. So it's so important that they're able to get this information to make this pick get to level 6 and to work for them.
Yeah, and one of the things we see Fnatic do actually a whole lot is they try to split the map on their weak side. So they put Broxah over towards the side of Bwipo. Now, in this game, they got the vision, but they don't have the champions to actually fully split the map right down the middle lane. So it's just going to be protection, and Broxah won't be able to do much more than lay down wards, maybe go for a Scuttle Crab, because they lose the 2v2 top lane very hard.
Absolutely, but for now, it's still the level 1. Bwipo going to do what he can to pick up the farm. You notice no Kleptomancy in the hands of this Gangplank, grasping and dying, taking the safe route, but Mowgli not interested in playing it safe, instead going for the aggressive invade. Quintessential Mowgli, gets a buff, goes right in to try to stop any action on the top side.
I really love this pathing from Mowgli, and it's something we see from him so often. He takes a very aggressive jungle champion and looks for those small wins, where he invades into the enemy jungle and takes away some camps. He actually counters the wolves, and because Broxah doesn't know that, he's going to be denied that experience when you are on this scaling champion that wants to get to levels and wants to get to level 6.
Yeah, and in tandem, Jiizuké was also moving with the invade from Mowgli. He skirted down onto the red buff. He's now placed a ward. So Vitality have full information and eyes on what Broxah is doing with this Karthus pick to open up windows for where Mowgli wants to attack this map.
And as we look at this, we talked a lot about Vitality's perspective, the 1-3-1, what we're used to, what we know them for. But on the opposite side, talking about Fnatic in this early game, what are they trying to get away with? What do they need to do to come out on top?
I mean, you look at their champions, the likes of the Karthus, the likes of the Vayne, the Gangplank. This is all about scaling. So this is Fnatic, at least in game 1, saying, let's have a 5v5 teamfight-oriented composition. Let's make sure that we can just meet them in the late game and blow them up, because we figure if we wait past 25 minutes, it's free win for us against Vitality.
All right, so now I want to take a chance to look at this path. We're actually going to have to put that on pause right here. Oh, just kidding. We're going to be able to look here at Vitality and the pathing from Mowgli. Notice where he is inside of this jungle here from Broxah. All of this early vision now is giving him the tools to go for the double Scuttle Crab. If we notice this, he went for his red buff into the enemy wolves. Those were counter jungled, forced Broxah out of his jungle, and then got both crabs. Now this gives him so much time to go back to his own side of the jungle and just dominate.
Absolutely does, Ender. Now, as we look back at the map, we check in on the rest of the status of the map. You can see how that might start to influence things as we move later into the game. Of course, level 6 for the Karthus, as you mentioned, incredibly crucial.
It basically means, and you can see this reflected in Vitality's side lanes, that both Cabochard and Attila and Jactroll can be super far forward because that safety net has been set up. So Fnatic, the plan existed.
Ooh,
Hold
but
on,
now,
sorry.
Don't exactly expect a level 3 Karthus gank. Red buff, he's going to have to auto-attack at some point, but just trying to relieve a bit of pressure from Bwipo. Cabochard is unconcerned. He wants the 2v1 if they're willing to commit to it.
And I love that use of phrase, alleviate pressure, because that's what Fnatic want to do. They want to survive the lane phase, but because Mowgli got double scuttle control, things are starting to crack and bleed. And so now, where does Mowgli finally punch that hole through Fnatic's defense?
That's the question here, because right now, Mowgli is still just farming. He's building up a massive CS and gold advantage. He just hasn't gone back to base just yet. So he's sitting on some money. Once he goes back to base, then he can start to look to attack. But I think it relies on Jiizuké. When Jiizuké hits level 6, they are going to look for an ultimate play around the top side of the map to completely shut down Bwipo.
For now, Broxah doing what he can to keep up, and the bot lane still relatively even. Rekkles generally you kind of expect to be on the back foot in this lane, just given the raw power of Braum and a lot of these melee matchups. Jiizuké potentially in trouble in the mid lane. Karthus now coming in, a lot of immediate CC knocked back there into the Unraveled Earth, but he's now running. Maybe one more is going to land. Jiizuké running for his life. He's going to take some footwork. Where's the skill going to go? Not going to connect. Just barely living.
And the flash from Jiizuké, he held on to it from so long, knowing exactly how much damage could come through. Got both flashes, now we see bot.
Vayne, Alistar now looking for a kill. Jactroll going to try to back off, has the Unbreakable. One more, he's going to proc the stun. Rekkles now going to be in trouble as they continue to extend this trade. The longer the fight goes, the more damage Braum is going to get in, but Hylissang there to body block and immediately action across multiple lanes.
Yeah, Rekkles and Hylissang going in there looking for the fight because they saw the mana bars on both Attila and Jactroll were so low. They ended up getting the worst of the trade overall, but knew they could not fall down there, and all the summoner spells are retained except the additional ones, the Ignite and the Heal from both supports.
But we are starting to get a bit more life from Fnatic in this early game, not just in their individual lanes, but in Broxah getting control of the Scuttle Crab. Now, because they forced Jiizuké's flash as well as an early TP, it meant that he wasn't there for mid priority, which means on second rotation of Scuttle Spawn, Broxah is actually able to take it because Nemesis was on his wing.
And you have to think that one step further too, like when does Broxah actually gank mid lane? It's right before the Scuttle Crab does spawn, so it forces a reset from Jiizuké. So while Vitality have the winning top side of the map, like they slam this, right? Well, they don't actually get to use it because Jiizuké was forced back to base. Now it's nice to see Mowgli making a response on the other side of the map.
And a very bold call to go in for the solo Infernal Drake on Jarvan, but Jiizuké now moving down, of course, can get spotted out here by this ward. Will make it a little bit awkward. Gonna make it a bit more difficult for Contribute. Now to play acting, he just has to kill the ward and walk away. Wait for that one to die at least before he contributes. The team doesn't know that this is happening, but the ping's now coming out. They know that they have nothing on that side of the map, so they will just have to give this one up to Mowgli, and he'll just barely survive that exchange.
And look at Vitality, the map control they have at the moment. They get the Infernal Drag on the bottom side while Cabochard invades and puts down Vision. That's going to allow him to play even more aggressive in this lane. But you can see Bwipo, even in losing matchups, still continues to play up. And that's why I was thinking maybe Cabochard can try to exploit this tendency from Bwipo to try and go a little more aggressive in matchups where he really shouldn't.
And when we talked about this matchup from the perspective of Vitality, we said this is all about the top lane. Cabo's the guy that they've been playing through for most of the split. This is what led them to the most success. But is he building a big enough advantage right now in what was a counterpick matchup?
I think it's also about kind of redefining what it means for a Vitality's playstyle. People expect them to still be this very explosive, kill-heavy, fight-heavy team, and while that is true for them kind of in that mid and that late game, early on, it's about small advantages.
Exactly, and it comes down from Mowgli and Cabochard. Mowgli through his counter jungling, trying to build up CS leads, and Cabochard getting strong matchups so he can build up in these small trades. So you get the CS, you get chunks down onto the enemy tower, and you build up small but sure leads until eventually you hope to reach a critical mass.
Cabochard now just backing off, using the ultimate to disengage. Broxah doesn't want to push any further. Mowgli on the way up, though.
As is Nemesis.
Bwipo, though, still with the flash available. Bit of a difficult spot for them to find themselves in. Now both sides do look like they are going to back off. Mowgli, of course, knowledge of the bush is unwarded. Can continue down. Could look to extend the play, but Bwipo now waiting in the bush. This is a difficult spot for him to be in. Has to be careful. Just a bit of damage laid down by Cabochard. Mowgli not going to push for anything else.
That was very aggressive from Bwipo. I think that there was concern from Fnatic members that they didn't have perfect information about where Jiizuké is, and now that he has access to his wall, the fact that even though Nemesis was starting to cheat up, that Talia could be there at any time, and it wasn't worth the risk with Broxah so close to level 6.
And while Fnatic maybe didn't know exactly where Jiizuké was, I think Vitality are running into some problems with Jiizuké, because I constantly see Nemesis with the priority in this middle lane, which is stopping Jiizuké from making plays. He's gone for a couple of resets when Mowgli was on the top side, but now finally he is making the move, and with Mowgli, Bwipo really needs to get this base off.
Has to be careful, getting closer and closer to that point, but the stopwatch still not available, walling him in. He's not going to be able to escape this one. He's going to try to flash to safety, but the auto connects. Mowgli getting that first blood.
I mean, great play from Vitality, but I really don't know about that flash, Bobo. He looked dead to rights. Even with Broxah sort of waiting behind, you can see how much scaling Fnatic drafted themselves in and how hard that is making it to play around this top side. Vitality saw the crack and broke it.
And now with Vitality in a good position, they have the lead, they have the Infernal Drake in a bigger advantage on top side. Some of that now snowballing into the pockets of Mowgli as he continues the more tanky build for Jarvan. They're in control to dictate the pace of the game, and this is kind of their element. This is what we expect from them when they pick these strong lanes, especially on the top side.
And now you're looking at the refresh of the cooldown from Talia wall and about Jiizuké and Mowgli moving together to set up plays like this across the rest of the map.
You absolutely are, and I think that it is worth noticing now. Vitality, one of the common criticisms for them throughout the whole split was their bottom lane, and maybe dying 2v2 in these matchups, falling behind while the rest of their team was trying to make plays up topside. But it's worth pointing out that Attila is actually leading in CS up against Rekkles. Not only are they holding their own, but they're actually laning very, very well here to make sure that Vitality have leads in every single lane.
And the thing that I like is that he's not going for the immediate tier. The God is here to try to get those stacks. He goes for the Sheen so he can contest, so he can match the Vayne in terms of damage output, making use of that last pick that they saved.
And of course, it's less important now that you get the earliest tier possible because there's no longer double tier on Ezreal. So you don't need to stack that up as soon as possible so you can begin stacking your second one. So he's not punished as you would be before for itemizing first into Sheen.
Yeah, and we've seen some AD carry Ezreal sort of go back to the physical damage as Cabo just nukes it.
Yeah, trying to extend that trade. Uses the Cutlass for the slow. A few more autos. Wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time. Bwipo playing that one so well.
No, no, no.
Oh, no. Oh, outsmarted. So well played.
It was such a bait, but here comes Mowgli, here comes Jactroll, and the rest of Vitality.
Flashing forward, Mowgli's just going to move in. He should just be able to take this one now. Bwipo's still alive!
Wait, what?
Bwipo!
Jactroll?
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
No way.
I'm sorry.
No way.
You wanted someone to replace So as Fnatic. I think you found it. Why will this man not die? Disaster strikes for Vitality. Bwipo is a monster.
You gotta be kidding me.
I mean, okay, yeah, that was well played from Bwipo, but that was also a massive fumble from Vitality. Huge miscommunication. I don't know what happened. So if Soaz just makes people, disconnect from their headsets, Bwipo's the same guy.
I mean, hopefully we'll get to check that one out again, but Mowgli was running under tower and Jactroll just sort of pieced out. I was like, I guess you got it, buddy. I mean, we see this initial trade off the bat and notice it was 10 seconds after minute 10. That meant the stopwatch unlocked here for Bwipo. So while Cabochard wins a 1v1 with the tower and with the global pressure of a Karthus, it just does not work. But the real sort of head scratcher comes with Mowgli and Jactroll. Watch this. Mowgli goes under tower. Jactroll's like, yeah, I'll heal you, and then I'll leave.
Now they're going to continue to send the play, though. They've decided they want a little bit more. Bwipo, no stopwatch left this time. Vitality are fully committed for a little bit of revenge. They will get it that time. Folks, third time is the charm. First two didn't work out. Bwipo says, yeah, okay, I guess. Does go down in the end on that one. So Vitality, while it was a bit unfortunate series of play from their perspective, they do manage to grab the kill on the repeat.
And of course, at this point, Bwipo was saying, I can go down. I'm losing a lot here. I don't have my TP. I'm going to have to walk all the way back to the lane. I lose the plates. I lose the experience. I lose the gold. But I still have the utility anytime my ultimate is up.
But Fnatic, now seeing that the top side is in a dire position, have decided to commit to the bottom side, willing to give Bwipo up, willing to have him go even further behind to try to get something on the bottom side. But Broxah now has to flash, overstaying his welcome.
This is actually really, really good here from Vitality because the bottom lane's able to stay safe, and with the threat of the Weaver's Wall coming in from Jiizuké, Fnatic can't overextend for the dive. While all of that is happening, Mowgli goes for this Herald uncontested, and now I'd love to see him run top lane, place it, and get the full 5 plates before 14 minutes.
I mean, the reality is that this map has collapsed.
Ooh, bit of a miscommunication there. Jactroll tries to extend the play with the ultimate, but now it looks like Jactroll could go down here. Miscommunication now costing them. Jactroll absolutely going to die. They may just fall up immediately. They turn their attention to use Lissandra ult on the AD carry, and they make it all too easy. Double dropping for Rekkles on the bottom side.
But Fnatic had to force that play. They recognized that the top side of the map completely owned by Vitality. If it didn't work there, they were going to fall further and further behind. So great read on the situation to say, no, force this, give everything to Rekkles.
At the same time, it's a huge fumble from Attila and Jactroll, who, yes, took a good trade in the 2 versus 2, but you have to know Broxah and Nemesis were on the Dragon. They overextended, and that brings us back to sort of the criticisms that we have seen from this 2v2 in the past.
Definitely a question mark moving forward into the game. Cannot afford to not be on the same page in those all-in situations. But the good news is the Herald now used, grabs another 2 plates. Cabo, while he has no mana, remains uncontested on this top side. That's going to be 10 plates now going over if they go for this one, but they're going to opt out. Still massive gold over to Vitality.
I mean, just look at the pressure they have on the top side of that. There's a line of red wards just seeing every single move that Fnatic make, and this is especially important because Hylissang was actually walking up towards the top side, and that maybe Fnatic were going to punish them if Cabochard overstayed, but they saw the members of Fnatic. Vitality said, we don't need this extra plate, we can back up and stay safe.
And this is kind of the head scratcher for me. As you can see, Jactroll clearly has the kill in his sights, but they don't respect Hylissang coming in. Attila uncertain if they want to fully commit. And once these major cooldowns have already been built, they don't have any disengage tools left, and there's 4 members of Fnatic here.
I mean, just why are you going for this play? At best, you chunk out Rekkles, and then it's harder for Fnatic to dive you if they wanted to bring multiple members down. But Mowgli was on the Herald, Cabochard was top lane, and Jiizuké was not close enough to be able to respond.
It's the fact that all you needed to do was absorb the pressure from Fnatic, delay them. Worst case scenario, they get a couple of hits on the tower, but also not the kills in their back pocket when the top side of your map is winning so hard.
Which, to be clear, Attila and Jactroll, for the first 13 minutes of the game, played absolutely perfectly. They did what they needed to do. They didn't take these over-aggressive trades, and they were winning in CS, but you can see the tides are now turning, and giving Rekkles 2 kills on this Vayne that we know spikes so hard on 2 items is going to play so much into Fnatic and the scaling game they're going for.
Absolutely is. A terrifying position to be in, of course, as well as Broxah continues to scale up, getting closer and closer to level 11 and double flat penetration itemization. But on the other side, as you mentioned, top lane, such a hugely strong point right now for the side of Vitality. You see the Kindle Gem Black Cleaver is on the way. Mowgli, though, does now have to back off here, so overall, despite what looks like Vitality kind of dictating the pace for most of this game, Fnatic have been punishing left and right and keeping it still a pretty close game, about a 1K difference between them.
I mean, they're finding their windows where they can get in these quick jabs, but it's still Vitality that have been eating up most of this map, and topside's about to go down. The fact is that with the Bork completed and the Candle Gem on the way, there's so much safety for Cabochard having the CDR as well as the extra health, and infinite sustain to just sit up into this tower. Bwipo was never going to move him from that point.
And while Vitality have a lot of advantages right now, specifically around Cabochard, I think we have to talk about how this team actually looks to play games, because this composition and the style Vitality have had all split long is not about, you know, getting to 25 minutes, having a big team fight around the Baron buff, and then winning. Rather, it is about setting up Cabochard to be a strong split pusher, to dominate in the side lane and continually build up an advantage more and more and more until you reach a point on this Lucian where you can just take over a side lane entirely and no one can match it.
But what's really interesting about Fnatic's composition is how it can actually play around a 1-3-1. You know, let's say Vitality get to that point where they've unlocked Cabo, he's in his dueling position, he's a very strong Lucian. It almost doesn't matter who goes against him because you have a Vayne. It's not just about the fact that you have global pressure with a Gangplank ultimate as well as a Karthus ultimate, but also the ability for Rekkles to play into a side lane.
Also, it's Rekkles with a teleport as well, so we absolutely can match that 1v1 and look for that matchup.
Now trying to punish the Gangplank ult does come out. They're looking for the initiation. Nemesis is going to commit using the snare first. Where's the ultimate going to go? Taliyah wall now coming in. Fnatic find themselves caught in the middle of the play here. Jiizuké now knocked out, but Broxah has a lot of damage if they can continue to lock him down. Mowgli now on the retreat, turning back for Hylissang. Hylissang now in trouble, knocked back under the tower. Will they continue the play? No, Vitality gets the better. Mowgli wants to re-engage. Beautiful ultimate from Attila. Jactroll ready to follow up. Now continuing forward. Cabochard off to the side. Here comes the calling, and Fnatic are going to get ripped to pieces if Cabo can get the autos out, but now he's in trouble. He's in the middle of a death Karthus, and here comes the ultimate. How many kills will Broxah get? That's one going through. Cabo just barely living. What a bloody fight.
Vitality got the first kill, but they couldn't continue the fight. They have no ability to team fight with this composition. Fnatic were able to stall out, kite back, stay alive for long enough. They were able to turn the fight completely around and try to get this mid tower.
It was also the fact that Rekkles was practically untouched for the longest time, sitting on full health. The Vayne eventually just walked through them.
Now sitting at 4-0, should be able to go back to base and pick up the Ginsu's Rage Blade. That means true damage coming in on every other auto attack for this champion.
And this Alienware replay just shows us how intense this game is, how many small mechanical decisions come through.
And initially, I actually had concerns for Fnatic coming into this. They were trying so hard to force, but Hilly just cannot get in range to hit the combo there. He burned his flash last time until he eventually turns and finds Jiizuké. I'm like, oh no, Fnatic, you've overreached. You've extended everything that you wanted.
But now think, where does the damage come from Vitality? Mowgli looks for the initiation, but as soon as he has to flash out of the fight, there's just not enough health bars on the side of Vitality. They have two marksmen, they have a Taliyah as well. They need a frontline if they want to look for this type of fight. And unfortunately, they don't have that ability, so the fact that they got baited into this 5 versus 5 is going to actually set them behind.
Now Fnatic turn their attention to the Ocean Drake. We'll see if Jiizuké can do anything to contest it. No, just throws down the wall. Is going to continue to extend the play, though. Looks like they may try to catch someone out. TP coming in from behind, though. Jiizuké getting knocked back over the wall. Has to be careful. No flash after the last fight. Bwipo is right behind him. It is a split fight, but attention is now shifted towards Rekkles. He does get knocked up. Beautiful ulti coming in from Jactroll. Rekkles should drop here. Mowgli does grab the kill, but it is a 1-for-1 in the end. Mid laner for AD carry.
Big shutdown there going on towards Mowgli, and they're the ones with control over this middle lane. They actually have a lot of minions here. If they wanted to, they could try to get some damage down on this tower or just look to steal camps away from Fnatic.
And now as the game reaches what is a very breakneck pace, we will see the Gangplank ult try to slow it down a bit for us, try to stop the Vitality from pushing any further. Now we are letting fans vote on who we follow on our POV stream next game, twitch.tv/riotgames2. And we're going to be in the mid lane. Who do you want to see? You can spam now in chat Nemesis or Jiizuké, depending on whose perspective you want to see as we move into the Baron setup phase currently. And it's hard to say, because on the one hand you have a key initiator, on the other hand you have someone with a wall that can be anywhere on the map. Hard to know for certain.
I think Jiizuké is going to be pretty important for Vitality if they want to make it happen. You can see how he uses the wall here to funnel off the rest of Fnatic. And while he gets butted out, has no flash, Rekkles was left alone. Everyone on Fnatic's trying to dive on towards Jiizuké. So ultimately, it ends up being the shutdown and the worth trade on the side of Vitality after Jactroll landed a pretty nice ultimate to CC Rekkles.
And I know you said this before, Andrew, that Vitality typically don't look for a style where it's one big team fight in front of a Baron, but the Baron is live and Rekkles doesn't have flash. So for the next, let's say, a couple of minutes until that flash comes back up, Fnatic will want to be avoiding a lot of fights unless they're just easy picks, waiting for that Vayne's flash, because Jarvan just lands on Rekkles, there's nothing he can do, he's just dead.
Yeah, and you asked the question, like, what's better, a team fight comp or a split push comp? And honestly, we've seen so much team fight comps, and I think it's because of the Baron buff. What it sort of acts as is just a giant, center of gravity that pulls everyone in towards it. The second Fnatic send 5 members towards it, Vitality have to respond with 5 members. That means Cabochard cannot be in a side lane, and eventually it's going to come down to a team fight around this Baron rather than Cabochard knocking on towers and getting an eventual inhibitor, which is what they want.
Now the engage is coming through. Jiizuké once again caught out. They're trying to find the disengage, but Jiizuké just gets absolutely blown up. Nemesis is next, though. Rekkles off to the side. Cabo ready to find the fight if he can. It's a split fight overall. Cabo over the wall. A difficult position to be in, but now the ultimate coming in for Broxah. Jactroll running forward, knowing he's dead anyway, hoping to get concussive blows off. But with another member down, the fight now in favor of Fnatic. 4v3. Both sides going to disengage.
But they've got so much zone control with Bwipo on this gangplank that they're able to just stay on the inside track towards the mid lane tower and get all of the control that they want between mid and that red side Vitality jungle. Place down all the wards, sweep everything out, and again, that big Baron fight, that's about to come.
And it's always going to keep Vitality guessing, because especially when key members like Jiizuké do not have the flash, he cannot DPS in these fights. That's 3 times in a row he's been caught out and unable to make a move.
And we had some questions, Hilly was flipping through all these different supports. Am I going to go for the Galio? Am I going to go for the Thresh, the Alistar? One of the signature things that Alistar has with someone like a Lissandre is the snap CC and engagement. Galio takes a wind-up time with the taunt. If you find anyone, instantly Hilly can be on top of them.
Yeah, there's just no counterplay to Jiizuké other than don't be in that position. You have to be much further back within the team fight. And once again, with Broxah using the ultimate to finish off members, you can see Vitality, they want to fight with the way they're positioning, but they don't know how to actually approach the 5 versus 5.
And as we move later in the game, it does feel like Fnatic is getting more and more control, and has to be crucial in this game one for Fnatic to come out swinging, come out with a win. Because a lot of people were critical when they snap-picked Vitality, when they could have picked SK, but they didn't wait. They immediately locked in Vitality. They said, we know this team. We do not think that this team can secure a lead as we move into the late game, and this is their opportunity now to prove it here in game 1.
And it just kind of goes back to everything that Bwipo said when we had that sit-down conversation with him, Drakos. If you wait out Vitality 30 minutes, it's free win. He said, I've got the AD carry Rekkles. AD carry Rekkles is also on Vayne of all picks, and it looks like Bwipo's call is coming to fruition.
And now, have to start wondering what the next big explosive fight is going to be, because we've also seen Vitality be a team that managed to pull victory out of the jaws of defeat so often, find these creative ways to find wins, find these crucial picks or fights that can go in their favor, but it only gets harder from here because, once again, the impact of that Karthus in these fights makes them so much harder to play. Jiizuké, not on a hyper-mobile champion. Once his flash is gone, he is very vulnerable.
Yet he does have his flash back once again, so it becomes a little bit easier for him to approach these fights. You can see he's actually using the teleport to get back in towards this middle lane, and this plays into the idea that Fnatic just want to suck Vitality into the 5 versus 5 by grouping up and looking for picks, especially around an Ocean Drake that's spawning, or the ever-present Baron Nashor. Vitality are constantly playing this game where they want to go in.
Mowgli trying to find the engage. Jactroll here for the follow-up. They have to be careful though. Unbreakable already used. Attila off to the side. Nemesis looking for the re-engage. They're now backing off. Bwipo has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming in for Karthus. That's going to be 2 quick kills. Hylissang going to keep the ball rolling. Double dropping for Broxah. They want one more. Hylissang flashing forward. Looking for that auto. Will not be able to grab it, but the ultimate is there from Nemesis. The engage is clean. It will keep the fight going. A beautiful turn from Fnatic.
And Fnatic can run straight towards the Baron now. Mowgli's going to be dead for another 20 seconds. Broxah actually going to be spending some time starting up this Ocean Drake. Doesn't seem like they want to push the envelope too much, but Hylissang is on the way. Do they just want to take both at the same time?
They have so much time, Ender, and so much confidence that they are unconcerned. Remember, that is a 2-item Vayne. Every 2 hits is the true damage proccing on this Baron. It is just going to shred right through.
And it's the fact that Bwipo has already kind of herded the rest of Vitality like cats towards the complete opposite side. They know that they've got a massive death timer on Mowgli, and Bwipo had full eyes of where everyone else for Vitality was.
Yeah, Bwipo, by the way, who got counterpicked miserably, got hard camped by Mowgli and Jiizuké, and is still keeping relevant inside of this game. It is now him with pressure in the side lane. Cabochard really struggling to get anything done anymore.
And Jiizuke's face said it all in that replay as we take another look at this one. At this point, the flash is just about to come back up for Rekkles, so Fnatic are saying, let's go. We can force this fight. We can capitalize on this.
And this is a point in the game where Vitality need to better understand how their composition can actually pull off a win, because I do not think that a 5 versus 5 is ever winnable for them in this game. They need Cabochard in a side lane. They need the Talia and the Lucian trying to take down towers, but they haven't even gotten the bot lane outer yet.
But frankly, Ender, this is why I kind of think this is like 4D chess from Fnatic. Because it's Karthus, Gangplank, and Vayne, the lane assignments just aren't there for Vitality. I actually think this is almost an unwinnable game at this point, because who are you going to send out in those side lanes that Fnatic can't deal with?
And who are you going to send when Broxah is getting closer and closer to level 16, has double flat pen items, a 10-stack Dark Seal, and a Rabadon's Death Cap? Who has enough of a health pool to survive that? It's Mowgli. Mowgli can't split push, he doesn't have any damage.
I feel like every single player on the side of Fnatic played the same, like they had the same story in this game where it's like, you know, get bullied around early, Bwipo lost lane, Broxah was getting invaded by Mowgli, but eventually just do way more damage than you. And with the scaling of literally every single champion on Fnatic's side, it becomes so easy for them to look for the plays and look to close it out.
See a lot of damage getting put down onto Nemesis, but the Gangplank ult just forcing Jiizuké even further back as this tower is now set to fall. Bwipo trying to retreat on the bottom side. It's going to take a lot of resources if they want to extend this one. Concussive Blow is not going to be cleansed away by the orange, however, but no follow-up here. Still a walking face first from the jungle. Has to be careful, but not concerned. Knows it's just Hylissang. Hylissang maybe overstaying his welcome. After shocking down Proc, he is going to get knocked back. Beautiful use of the Blast Cone. That's going to be a free pick. Will Nemesis try to extend? Will just back off, so that is a small consolation prize to the side of Vitality.
I don't know about that one, Hylissang. That seemed pretty troll to me. He's literally just running into the Ezreal. I mean, he's buying space. He got his team a tower on the top side.
You know, he's pretty far ahead. I think he thought, like, I have the fear factor on my side, because if anyone else is here, they die instantly.
No,
but,
he was like, I've got the Blast Cone on my side, except surprise, you're against Talia, who is now returned on 9.6 with the changes to Dematerializer that allow her to clear waves and compete with wave control.
And kill Alistairs who are trying to Blast Cone out.
That's the important
It was a nice flick from Jiizuké to say, come back.
Yeah, he did time it very well, and honestly, it's hard to get away from an Ezreal with the red buff, but Hylissang probably just needs to pop the ultimate a little bit sooner.
Give me this.
But wait, where am I going?
That's the problem when people don't build attack speed Alistair. If your attack speed or attack animation is too slow, you can't Blast Cone out to safety.
I think that there were a lot of members of Fnatic really close to him as well, and he was probably calling, oh, I can get out, no problem, I have Blast Cone. And they're like, okay, we'll farm Raptors, we'll push top lane, get the tower, and he got left out to dry.
Or they're like, Hylissang, you did it again. can't just let you get out of this one. And he's not afraid, though. Despite that, remains completely unconcerned, has the Hex Flash available, has the ultimate available once again. And you can tell that Fnatic dominating in every lane, pushing every lane out at this stage, and ready to just kind of threatening Vitality, saying, come at us. Try to start a fight. See what happens.
I mean, Vitality, they're looking for like the miracle throw from Fnatic right here. Maybe they just find someone out of position, snap, blow them up. Or at this point, you're trying to stall out the game long enough while everyone in comms is like, okay, what happens for game number 2?
Yeah, I mean, we all remember Fnatic versus G2, right? They had an early game advantage, and they overstepped their boundaries. They dove an inhibitor tower, and that gave G2 the opportunity to sort of claw their way back into the game. And while I think Fnatic had time to sort of learn and recoup from that match, Vitality definitely need that type of thing to happen again.
The unfortunate thing is that they don't have a lot of options on this composition for any sort of late game damage, especially because double tier Ezreal doesn't exist anymore. You can see his build right now, Muramana, Iceborne, this is kind of your core, and then from here, pros are kind of split. Either you go warp or hold it.
Or you go in on Hylissang as it is now the turn. You see the ultimate coming into the Gangplank as well. Hylissang now Nemesis is off to the side, ready to lock down Attila. Attila immediately flashes out. Mowgli now on the retreat. Eyes on Broxah. Is the Requiem going to come down? Mowgli incredibly low, but I don't know if he's low enough. Broxah opts not to pull the trigger yet.
And Cabochard was in bottom lane that entire time. They didn't have the damage, the extra damage coming from him. Still a decent fight from them, but they lost both flashes on their bottom laners. Fnatic didn't lose too many summoners.
This is going to be a tough spot to be in. Rekkles now moving in. Rest of Fnatic ready
forward
for the collapse. Got 2 James with dashes. They're going to have to commit something to find a kill here. Nemesis would have to flash, but there's a Blast Cone as well, so it will be the disengage.
Just take the Infernal, Fnatic. It's free.
And Triple Ocean, too. Where in that situation where Mowgli maybe gets a little bit of damage down, maybe gets 1 or 2 cooldowns, Fnatic are just full health again next time you want to fight.
Okay, but back to Ezreal right now. So he's in 2 places. Your core is Iceborne and Muramana, and then you either have to choose. You either go the Hextech Gunblade or you go for your Blade of the Ruined King. I like the emphasis on kind of the AP burst by taking Sorcerer's Shoes, and personally, I feel that Hextech feels a lot better because you still kind of have that assassination potential.
Yeah, there's also some fun things with a Hextech as well, where you get extra healing from both your W and your E. Those are the magic damage spells that typically you don't don't get out of the Blade of the Ruined King. But this is the traditional Ezreal build that was sort of the stock
Blue
standard.
Ezreal.
It was the Blue Ezreal standard up until, you know, about a year ago when that double tier build was first introduced. So it's what Attila is comfortable with and what he's going to be hoping he can try to contest Fnatic with.
And it means you have so much kite potential as well as the ability to fight front to back. And that's what we saw kind of in the last team fight from Vitality, that between the Ezreal and the Talia, they're still able to put down great chip damage. But the issue is that there's just so much hard engage from Fnatic's composition. So as long as Vitality can survive that, maybe they whittle their way, weasel back into this game. But if that hard engage ever finds them, they're done.
Yeah, flashes are absolutely important. Jiizuké actually using the Unsealed Spellbook to switch over to Cleanse as well to keep himself safe against the initiation of Nemesis. He did just finish the Rabadon's Death Cap as well. It's probably the best spike you can look for, but Hylissang on the flank.
Flank now looking for the fight, looking for the engage. Is going to use Righteous Glory now, leaping forward, wants to knock Attila right back into the team, and the follow-up is there immediately. Rekkles is just going to tear through them. The double for the Vayne. Rekkles wants to keep it going, has to be careful. Flashes forward, unconcerned. Out comes the Requiem. Bye-bye to Jiizuké. That's another one dropped. Mowgli running for his life now as well. Ulti still connects as well. The animation was already finished. Mowgli now set to fall. Another kill dropping for Fnatic.
And the hard engage found Vitality, which means it's not only going to be the Baron, but surely the game at this point. Fnatic have everything, including coming up to a 10k gold lead.
Yeah, Fnatic, they're duoing the Baron while the other three members, because everyone stayed alive on their side, are still going to be pushing up. Cabochard couldn't TP into that fight. He was recalling in bottom lane when Fnatic found their mark, and 2 inhibitors will surely fall.
And Hylissang has been fishing for that flank for at least 5 minutes now. He finally finds it. And the game is just now set to end. 2 inhibitors dropping. They can look to turn the fight onto Nemesis, but the rest of Fnatic now set up to collapse. Hylissang ready for one more headbutt pulverize. But instead, they set their sights on the inhibitor and they retreat. With 2 down, though, without a composition that does well in these fights, you have to feel like Vitality are just planning for game 2.
Or gonna TP in and try. This is the last-ditch effort. They must make a play like this. But it's a Talia on the flank, and she's gonna set up the wall.
Oh no.
Hylissang's here.
Oh no.
Bye-bye. Oh, wait a second.
Jiizuké, I believe, has finished the death cap now. That is one terrifying Talia. We have hit the late game status, but no one else is here. He's trying desperately to run. Does manage to get a bit of damage down, but only a mid laner killed. Huge commit, but honestly, really no other options were left.
Yeah, exactly. Hero attempt from Jiizuké right there. Not only that, but just puts, I think it was Nemesis, into the ground.
Yeah, just instantly blew him up. You can see the flank from Hylissang. Watch how he holds onto his spells. It's a Q flash for the knock-up onto Attila, so he can headbutt him into the face of Rekkles. Rekkles, like, sneezes on him. The Ezreal instantly dies, and then Broxah participates in this fight with the 1 button.
And this is something that we do need to talk about, though, because Fnatic have been kind of stuck in this area where they're just finding the big fights, and when they do find them, they win. It still is relatively difficult to siege with how short range they have if Nemesis isn't there. They need that Lissandra to approach towers and to threaten to kick down. So the Baron was very important for this composition to get to this point on the map where it's just the Nexus towers and bot towers standing for Vitality.
And they were facing that lull, but now that they've broken the base, they have 2 inhibitors down. It becomes a cakewalk here for Fnatic. They're grouping up with 4 members in the bottom lane while Bwipo escorts the wave in mid, keeping the Baron buff on top of it. So it takes 4 members of Vitality to even try to clear this one away. As this wave crashes in, Fnatic can look for the tower or maybe just the hard engage.
Ulti comes down for the gang, playing just slow and steady is the name of the game. Hylissang stepping forward, threatening. Everyone knows that headbutt pulverize hits, you die. That is the name of the game right now. One final desperate team fight is all that's left for Vitality. Maybe, just maybe, they can extend the game a little bit longer. But it is definitely in Fnatic in absolute control with the cannon minions here. You have to feel like it is just a matter of time. Vitality needs to start a fight or just end the game on the side of Fnatic. Super's pushing in on the top side as well. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of avenues left.
Hylissang bringing the minions up towards the tower. Fnatic are saying, come to us or your base will be destroyed. They hit the tower once, it falls. Vitality have nothing left to save them.
Taking their time, Jiizuké off to the side, looking for the wall, looking to split up the team at least a little bit, hoping to find that perfect angle, hoping to split up the team. Rekkles off on his lonesome, off to the side. They're now kicking the fight off. Rekkles is not in the fight. That could be an issue stepping forward. Cabo leaping into Broxah. Broxah is so incredibly low, but does have the ultimate available. If he gets killed, he will still be able to full channel the ult, but Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1.
Fnatic called the bluff of Vitality. They said, sure, you can play the strong top side of the map. Sure, you can play the strong early game, but if there's something we know how to play, it is the team fight phase. It is the scaling picks on their side. They did not allow Vitality to get a large enough lead, and they're able to make it look easy once Baron rolled around.
I mean, the first 3 picks said it all. Karthus, Lissandra, and Vayne. These champions had a very clear setup. The zone control for the Vayne, it was going to be about Rekkles. It was going to be sitting back and kind of waiting out these big late game scaling options.
And a departure from what we saw a lot in the second half of the season from Fnatic, where they built these massive leads in the earliest portions of the game, where it was clever jungle pathing that led to massive lane leads that extended, these huge advantages, and now they were willing to take a backseat. They had these lanes that were in difficult positions, but when push came to shove, they just out-executed in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I mean, we know that being able to show multiple styles gives you such an edge when it comes to the playoffs, when you have to play these best of 5s, and you have to ask the questions, is this the right choice for the team we are facing? Fnatic absolutely looked like they had the right read on this game, whereas Vitality, with the 1-3-1 comp, the Lucian, did not seem like they knew what was going on at all.
And the terrifying thing is Vitality have shown kind of 2 aces that they had. The Talia pick coming back, a signature for Jiizuké, and then as well as the Lucian to try to figure out what was going to happen with that GP. Now that it's failed, where does the option come from in the draft phase? Do Vitality have anything else left?
And momentum in best of 5s is always so important. You want to be that team that's winning the game, because then there's no pressure on you to change. Fnatic could try to get the same exact thing in the next draft, and they would be incredibly happy.
Fnatic don't have to change anything. That's the nature of winning game 1, especially in these types of mind games. They didn't try to play for the lane phase, they didn't even really get their early invade. It was just a neutral map. They managed to survive the lane phase and won anyway. Fnatic just run it back the same way until they force you to change.
Yeah, Fnatic are in a great spot, and for Vitality, the question becomes, yes, we revealed some picks, but more importantly, I think it's that they revealed that they're still playing the style that was working for them for a long time, but towards the second half of the split, no longer was. And that's going to be a real issue for them if they can't execute on the strong solo lane picks to get away.
And that brings us back to something Deficio said on the desk, which he says, hey, I think this is a Fnatic win, but if Vitality are going to win, how's it going to happen? It's a single style. It's unique picks that Fnatic aren't ready for. Single style, unique picks, bad news. The third portion of that, Fnatic were ready for them. Fnatic did not, drop at the sight of new picks that we've seen like Talia and the Lucian in the top lane, and it leaves you wondering what else is left in the tank for Vitality. That's the question on our minds, because the reigning champions are looking to make a statement here in round 1. We'll see if they can take us to match point when we return. Walling him in. He's not going to be able to escape this one. He's going to try to flash to safety. Trying to extend that trade. Uses the Cutlass for the slow. A few more autos. Wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time. Bwipo playing that one so well. No.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ooh. Holy shit, I'm sorry.
Miscommunication now causing them. Jactroll absolutely going to die. They may just fall up immediately. They turn their attention to use Lissandra ult on the AD carry. Now the engage is coming through. Jiizuké once again caught out. They're trying to find a disengagement. Jiizuké just gets absolutely blown up. Nemesis is next though. Bwipo has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming for Karthus. That's going to be 2 quick kills. Flight now looking for the fight, looking for the engage. Is going to use Rek'Sai Laure now leaping forward. Wants to knock Attila right back into the team, and the follow-up is there. Immediately Rekkles is just going to tear through them. The double for the Vayne. Rekkles wants to keep it going. Has to be careful. Flashes forward. Unconcerned. Broxah is so incredibly low, but does have the ultimate available. If he gets killed, he will still be able to full channel the ult, but Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1.
powered up.
Get the Baron buff power play with Shell V-Power.
Sipping on straight chlorine, let the vibe slide over me. This beat is a chemical, beat is a chemical. When I leave, don't save my seat. I'll be back when it's all complete. The moment is medical, moment is medical. Sipping on straight chlorine, loving what I'm tasting. Venom on my tongue, depending at times. Poisonous vibrations. Help my body run. I'm running for my life. Running for my life. Sipping on straight chlorine. Let the vibe slide over me. This beat is a chemical. Beat is a chemical. When I leave, don't save my seat. I'll be back when it's all complete. The moment is medical. Moment is medical. Sipping on straight chlorine. Fall out of formation. I plan my escape from walls they can find. Rebel red carnation grows while I decay. I'm running for my life. Running for my life. Yeah, I'm running for my life. Running for my life. Had you in my coat pocket where I kept my rebel red. Felt I was invincible, you wrapped around my head. Now different lives I lead, my body lives on lead. The last two lines may read incorrect until said. The lead is terrible in flavor, but now you double as a paper maker. I despise you sometimes, I love to hate the fight. And you in my life is like sipping on straight chlorine. Let the vibe slide over me. This beat is a chemical. Beat is a chemical. When I leave, don't save my seat. I'll be back when it's all complete. The moment is medical. Moment is medical. Sipping on straight chlorine. Let the vibe, let the vibe. Let the vibe, let the vibe. Beat
Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC studio, where Fnatic and Vitality are kicking off the spring playoffs. And as we just saw, the reigning champions didn't miss a beat. They started the series with a win, and we're going to break down the specifics of that. But first, they came in, they picked Vitality. People were wondering why. This is exactly why.
Yeah, and I actually think here in the first game with the draft, we got basically everything we expected to see from Vitality. It's almost like a dream come for them in the first game. They're on red side. They can get a counter pick for Cabochard. That's obviously why they end up flexing the Lucian up to top lane. You have a ganking jungler. You have a roaming mid laner. And you have a safe bot lane. They don't need to do anything. They just need to wait for top side with Lucian to hard win, take the turret, and then rotate Cabochard around to get a big, big lead.
Yes, but immediately you do also see some factors on the other side that make you think, all right, well, Rekkles got that Vayne straight off the bat. You know, Nemesis likes that Lissandra a lot. So you know that Fnatic also has a plan.
This is the let's get past 25 minutes and we will win.
Yeah.
2 items on Vayne, 2 items on Karthus, and then this is whatever. It won't do anything. And we got to see that in basically every single fight. So it's on Vitality to not make mistakes early, because they're the ones on the clock. They're the ones who need to actually do well in the early game. Level 1, we talked about how Fnatic had great level 1s. You know, they always try and invade in and get some sort of advantage. And we actually get to see that here as well. Because if we just look at the minimap, what Fnatic wants to do is they want to move in and go here to try and force Mowgli to actually start down on this side. That means you cut the map in half. That means Bwipo is safe. He won't get ganked like level 2 or level 3. He's a happy man. But if we actually start running the clip here, you will notice how Vitality, they've seen this before. They know what's actually happening. So Mowgli, he scouts, checks the invade. He has a ward down behind him as well, so he knows exactly what's happening. And if you look at the minimap down here, you will actually notice how the bot lane, mainly Jactroll, starts moving up to this mid lane. And that means he can actually fight. Fnatic, they know. So if we actually just take a quick little pause right here, take a look at the minimap, you guys can see how Jactroll, he was here. He was ready to fight for the red buff and force Fnatic out. So Mowgli gets to start on top side. And he now knows that Broxah is a little bit delayed, which means after this red buff goes down, he can invade in. And then he's the one pushing Broxah to the other side of the map. And we're just quickly going to follow Mowgli, get his red buff. Everything right now is great for Vitality, because now Cabochard, he can just start pushing. Mowgli gets the advantage on top side, still has 2 camps left he can do. Great. This is what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, this was exactly what we talked about. And also important to mention, it was in a game versus Vitality that Fnatic pulled that level 1 strat. So they did their research. They knew what they were going to do. Mowgli was not predictable. He reacted immediately. And it's all great. You know, they've got their comp. They've got their strat. They withstood the storm of the level 1. But then the fish show. Break down the next couple of levels for us.
Well, first, they get rewarded for the smart start. You know, we have topside pushing in with Cabochard, which means you can actually roam up with your mid laner, Jiizuké, coming on Attila, and of course Mowgli being ready to dive. So this is what you want to do. Meanwhile, the bot lane, they're just farming. Yeah. It's great. We're all clapping. It's fantastic. No one is dying. Except for, of course, Bwipo up here, because, yes, you can't really do anything 1 versus 3. Now, sadly, it starts going a little bit wrong. You have the advantage. Cabochard is Cutlass. He's winning the lane hard.
You're watching this. You don't think this guy's ever going to escape.
No, he's not going to escape. He's not supposed to escape. Look who's coming. 2 guys as well moving up here. Boom, they're going to go in. Worst case, you know, they will kill him. It's all fine for now if you are Vitality. But man, this is where you get some of those key plays from key star players like Bwipo. Instant comes in there with the hourglass or with the stopwatch, doesn't die, baits Cabochard in, and then I have no clue what happens here. Like, so Mowgli comes in, Jactroll's right behind him, Jactroll's like, go, Mowgli, you can go, and then Jactroll's like, wait a minute, I don't want to kill this guy, and he just leaves. Why does he leave? No one knows. Anyway, Mowgli also dies. Bwipo is now the hero. First big mistake just happened right there for Vitality. Jiizuké, yeah, I don't know. At this point, you know, it couldn't get worse.
Let's put ourselves now in the minds of Yamato Cannon and Vitality. You played everything perfectly, then you do this, and on the other side, there's a Bwipo. He loves this kind of stuff, you know. His predecessor did it as well. He loves this. We saw his reaction. Now this guy is in the zone, and now what do you do as Vitality?
Well, normally you actually just go back top lane and you try and kill Bwipo, and they manage to get a kill there. You get the turret, and you don't actually change your plan. So that means bot lane is still supposed to just farm and do nothing else. But sadly for Vitality, here comes the second mistake. The first part, though, I want to highlight is actually the perfect setup if you are Vitality. This is exactly what you want to do, because if we pause right here and we open up the minimap, notice how the bot lane from Vitality, they respected the 4-man potential tower dive. So they walk away from the turret. Great. Step number 1 completed. Step number 2, you can't really see it behind this one, but Jiizuké is recalled. He's actually ready to ult down to the bot lane and assist his team. And that's why you see Broxah get scared and flash out. Even though it was only 2 people, well, Jiizuké could have joined with Talia. So this is perfect. Everything is awesome right now from the bot lane. And then, I don't know why this happens. We talked about this in the pregame. There's some pride a little bit, especially with someone like Attila. He likes to go for the kills with Jactroll when they see it. You know the enemy team have just been bot lane with 4 players. And you also know that this lane is not supposed to do anything from Vitality, just farm while they're winning topside. And yes, you might panic a little bit because Bwipo got those kills, but this is where everything suddenly goes in favor of Fnatic, because now the lane on bot side with Vayne gets a fight.
Vayne and Rekkles.
And Rekkles, he gets 2 kills. But so of course these guys are still down here. They literally just left.
Yeah. And for this, when you watch this, you know, okay, it was starting to go south for Vitality, and this is where it actually seals their fate, because you know that Fnatic is now not going to give that lead away anymore.
Yes, they completely outscale here.
But did you see enough convincing things to say now, okay, this is it completely, this is a 3-0, they're tilted off the face of the earth, Fnatic is super strong, or where are the opportunities for Vitality going forward?
I think Vitality would actually be happy to rerun the same draft, play the same game again, because they showed they knew what to do. Dive top lane with 3 players. Great. Sure misplay. That was a problem later. Bot side, Jiizuké was protecting them. They were backing away from the tower dive. They knew exactly what to do if you then just remove the fight after where they go for Rekkles and try and kill him. So if you actually replay the game, there's a lot of good things from Vitality, but 2 big mistakes, 1 top side, 1 bot lane, and then it's dead even in gold, and these guys heavy outscale.
Yeah.
And then it's wrong.
Then it is wrong. We talked a lot about what Vitality did wrong. Let's also talk about what Fnatic did right. They kept their cool and they played their game plan rather to perfection, which makes you think that they are still in that mindset of that winning streak they're on. They have their eyes on that trophy.
Yeah, and I think for them, Game 1 shows why they picked Vitality. They literally knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew it get past 25 minutes. Then this is the gold graph all of a sudden, and it's game over.
It is game over, but it is not series over, because that's why we have a best of 5, and we're going to see if Vitality can bounce back in game 2 as we leave it to the casters for picks and bans.
Thank you, Shocks. Of course, if you are a Vitality fan, you have to hope so, because while everything did go right in the early game, we saw Deficio and Shocks talk about it, there were those slip-ups, those individual mistakes that turned against them so quickly, and Fnatic just does not feel like a team that you can give a gold lead to and expect to come back against.
I mean, also, it seems to be that Fnatic have Vitality's number, and they recognize that they're a team that even if they get these incremental advantages in the early game, they're unable to snowball and to close with it.
Yeah, and I think that you look at those mistakes, and they definitely sped up the process for Fnatic, but even without those missteps, I'm not sure if Fnatic or Vitality are actually able to use that early game lead and snowball to a victory. I think Fnatic had the idea of just sucking Vitality into these 5v5s, and in that sort of scenario, Vitality just were not well equipped to win.
Which is why I really want to see a change up. Like, I don't mind Vitality's style of playing the 1-3-1. That's what they've been practicing with. That's what they should, you know, don't reinvent the wheel when you get into playoffs, but they do need to take more consideration into how they want to coordinate team fights. If you know a team like Fnatic has a strong team fighting history, you need to at least think about that when you're organizing these compositions. Play something that isn't like a Lucian, can still have that power in the dueling phase, but also brings utility in team fight presence.
I like that. I'm also going to hit you with a simple one. Ban the Karthus. It just makes every fight harder to play. It makes 1-3-1ing more difficult. It is a nightmare champion to play against. And clearly, while we may have thought that Broxah was the key to the Fnatic early game, he can just AFK for the lane phase and everything will be fine on that champion as long as he gets a few items under his belt. Now, we enter picks and bans for game 2. Or will enter shortly. We're going to see what the adaptation is. Will it be an adaptation for Cabochard? Will we see something completely new for Vitality? A lot of questions to be answered.
And reminder, it is Fnatic again on the blue side. Their previous 3 bans were Draven, Jayce, and Hecarim. Vitality's previous 3 bans were Sylas, Nocturne, and Rakan. We'll see if anything changes, and so far, it looks exactly the same.
And in the past, we used to have 1-3-5 for side selection, 2 and 4. Now the losing team picks their side. So Vitality have opted into this red side now, have opted to go once again for these potential counter picks for Cabochard on the top side.
And now banning away the Vayne, making sure Rekkles, who got so many kills in the early and the mid game, cannot be on that champion. I think a Karthus could very well follow. Instead, it is the Rakan, so you expect now the Karthus still being the primary first pick because Broxah looked so dominant on it.
Absolutely, but still hovering. The Kai'Sa as they did last time, kind of teasing us, and now it's going to be locked in once again. So surprised to see that one go through. However, you have to feel like Vitality must have a plan to adjust, or are they going to go for the salty run back? This is a classic. They might just try the same draft again.
Well, I think they're going to run back the start of it, but I think the big change that I would like to see Vitality make, Frosk, you pointed on it earlier, get something that is lane dominant for Cabochard, but also has a big output in the team fight. I think that this Jarvan very well could be looking to go up into the top lane because the Lucian will not be played again.
Yeah, I agree. And if Lucian is grabbed here, I think it will be by Attila, and it'll be a Lucian Braum bot lane. So I think there's emphasis that now that Fnatic don't have access to a Vayne, to grab it here.
What is the option going to be? What are they going to opt to go for? Of course, the Rakan banned away as well. Does make the Xayah a little bit less appealing, as we have seen that champion rising in priority recently on 9-6. But a lot of questions here. This is at least one change that will be forced in the draft, and I imagine maybe we don't see the priority on Rekkles, and it looks like instead Bwipo's blind pick Aatrox will be locked in.
Yeah, and this is the Aatrox that was banned in the second rotation from Vitality in the last game. So because Fnatic see the Vayne banned away, they say, okay, we don't have any AD carries that are still that high priority. Let's get something here for Bwipo that's not the gangplank. Bwipo wants some more firepower in the top lane.
And I think it's about the mind games here, because we talked about how, you know, there's probably going to be a pick for Cabo where he wants to have that side lane pressure, but also the teamfight utility. If you see the Aatrox locked into the Jarvan, that dissuades Cabo from looking for that matchup, which is why now suddenly you see the reach for Kennen.
And really, this is exactly what we wanted to see. You wanted to pick that can build a lead in the lane phase and then can heavily impact team fights, and that is AP top lane Kennen to a T.
I love this pick here from Cabochard. Jarvan can give so much support to a Kennen in the laning phase to try and bully out the Aatrox in that match. And of course, the team fight is going to be very deadly. So while last game we were looking at Vitality to never group up as 5, this is a team that can use the pressure of a Kennen in a side lane to push the wave and then collapse and look for the team fight.
But it's still the same core identity, at least with these 3 picks just on the board. You want to make sure that Cabo is the beneficiary of a lot of your resources, a lot of your attention, because we've seen Odoamne how potent and powerful an AP snowballed Kennen can be in both team fights and a side lane.
It can be so hard to deal with if you are a team like Fnatic, but they have Aatrox in the top lane. So while last game it was Vitality making mistakes and giving over kills when they dove Bwipo up topside, now post level 6, it becomes near impossible to actually single out that champion.
Going to be very difficult to see what the options are. Alistar taken away, Ryze going to follow. Now the Sivir as well, so taking away some of the late game win conditions that Fnatic might try to bring to the table. Of course, last time we saw a Tristana banned away on the side of Fnatic. Can't imagine we'll see it banned again. Is it something that could potentially go into the hands of Rekkles?
I really like these bans here from Vitality, because when you see these first 3 champions from Fnatic, you say, hey, they don't have a whole lot of hard engage. Right now, their best option is Lissandra coming in on a flank and trying to isolate a member on the backline. Fnatic, a Sivir could have been great for them. Now they really need Hylissang to carry a lot of weight with his pick. Whether it's something like the Galio or perhaps the Thresh, it's going to be very important that he can start these fights off for Fnatic.
Galio seems like the easiest option here, and I really like the fact that Attila with the Lucian also banned, because if Lucian's not banned right here, he's fine taking the Lucian Braum, and you expect that it's going to be the Tristana. By Fnatic banning the Lucian and Attila denying the Tristana away from Rekkles, how deep is he going to go? Is this going to be a Xayah? Is this going to be a Jinx?
And one thing that I love for the side of Vitality is that while Attila does not have the safety of the Ezreal, there is now more late game insurance. You have the Kennen who's better in team fights. You have now not an Ezreal in the hands of your bot laner, so you could, in theory, match toe-to-toe late game in the team fights, but Rekkles is responding with firepower of his own in the Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa, maybe a Thresh alongside it as well. I do think it's very important to point out that when Fnatic are bringing one primary engaged champion, because Thresh isn't going to do it, it's just the Lissandra, having the Tristana is so powerful. Having that one button that can knock the Lissandra out of the fight, can buy space for your backline, is going to give Vitality a fighting chance here.
And frankly, unless Rekkles really performs on this Kai'Sa pick, I feel like this was a big miss to not grab something like a Xayah. You are against a Jarvan. Xayah has so much protection if you see that they're all going to go in and try to dive on back to you. So Rekkles needs to be picture perfect on this Kai'Sa.
And here's the Zoe from Jiizuké. I asked for it in Game 1's draft. This is one of his favorite champions in the mid lane, and it's so good at looking for engagements, whether it's on a single target or just a bubble from long range going through a really fat wall. Vitality, they heard the criticism. They said, we can't play the super split push style. We are going to group up. We're going to have so many more tools to find fights, and this is going to put them in a much better position.
And it does feel like it keeps some of that core identity of having that stronger top side, saving that counter pick for Cabochard. But on the opposite side, a lot of changes coming in on the side of Fnatic. A safe blind pick for Bwipo once again. This time something a little more powerful than a Gangplank, but once again, my eyes just go back to Rekkles on this Kai'Sa, and I have to think how much pressure is on him to perform in what is going to be a very difficult match.
Going to be so huge for him here. Rekkles did so much work in the last game on the Vayne. Now with things changing on the other side, with so much dive coming his way, he will have to step up on the side of Fnatic, and it hasn't been hard for him in the second half of the split or in game one. This man has been on a roll, and now Fnatic, with a 9-game winning streak, do not want to stop.
One of the cool things about Kai'Sa, though, is, again, if we talk about how Fnatic's compositions kind of have these blueprints of being able to play out into a side lane. So the idea is, if Vitality do get their style, if they do play solo side laners, things like a Vayne can also duel out into a side lane. Things like a Kai'Sa can also swing out with a W.
And I'm going to have to cut you out there, Froskurinn, because we do have Laure standing by with Vitality's coach, and we'll see what he has to say about the series so far.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you, Yamato, for joining me. Everything didn't go as planned during Game 1. Even though pressuring top side was a good idea, so talk me through the changes you made, especially the cannon pick on top lane.
I think I was very happy with the draft. I think we had a good draft. We just misplayed in a couple of scenarios, and I think it's all about just adjusting how we play in-game. I think the draft is on our side, and we will continue to improve throughout the series.
All right, and I saw you talking to Mowgli in the end. What did you say to him?
That's a secret.
That's a secret. Well, without waiting, let's dive into Game 2. So up to you guys.
That's a throwback. What's the secret, Yamato? What's it gonna be? For now, the secret is Cabo running forward, proccing that Klepto. No bag of gold, sadly, would have been a nice way to start this game. But once again, level 1, an explosive part of the game for both these teams.
And while it's usually Fnatic making the level 1 moves, my eyes were on Vitality. Look at this, Cabochard, the #1 top laner in the spring regular season, voted #1 for the first all-pro team. It's Cabochard, and he's in a position now to try and carry his team with both a champion that can fight in lane and in the fights.
Yeah, frankly, I put Cabochard as my MVP. I know a lot of people will grab someone like Caps, but I just felt that Cabo had, let's say, different tools to work with than the likes of Caps to have a very superstar performance.
And now, of course, the pressure just continues to mount on him because while Vitality have drafted more tools, more late-game insurance, let's call it, it's also still Cabo in what should be a winning matchup for him, where he is expected to get a lead, because we know what happens with the team fighting Kennen when he gets behind. It's not a very strong pick.
No, it's definitely not fun. I think it is worth pointing out here the sort of dynamics of this top lane with their rune choices. Because on the side of Fnatic, Bwipo is going for the Arcane Comet on Aatrox, which isn't something you always see, but is very good specifically up against Kennen. Because Kennen's biggest weakness in top lane is he has no form of innate sustain. And that's what makes rune choices like the Kleptomancy, where he can get some extra potions, as well as the Domination Tree, where he will go Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter, become so powerful, because on this Kennen pick you are constantly tanking minion aggro because you're walking up, you're auto-attacking to proc the Klepto, and that's going to chunk you out in lane. With the survivability tools, he's going to be in a much better spot.
But now we see a departure from what was the Game 1 strategy. They think they're safe, they think no one's going to come, they think it's just going to be topside, but they're oh so wrong. Rekkles trying to make it out to safety, he can't click the Lantern, and that first blood taken out for Vitality.
And that is a combo that Vitality know how it works, because Fnatic were the ones that made it. This is the Tristana Braum, the ability to immediately proc the Winter's Bright, to jump on top of someone at level 2 and just nuke someone down. Mowgli didn't even have to be there.
It's just a beautiful play on so many different levels. It's Attila taking the jump at level 1, and it's Mowgli changing his path. He went from red buff straight to bottom side, and now with Jiizuké, they're trying to punish Broxah, who's trying to counter jungle up here.
Broxah's gonna be in a tough spot. He's gonna be sleepy. He has to be dead. There's literally no way out here. Beautiful start for Vitality. They were strong in Game 1. They're looking even stronger in the early game.
It's such a good early game play here, and it's Mowgli. And this is the secret, I've got to say, this is the secret that Yamato Cannon was telling him before the game started. He's off to a great start.
And it's ingenious pathing from Mowgli. The fact that Broxah just saw that Mowgli was bottom, the mentality is like, I can walk into this guy's Raptors camp. This is free. I'll at least get to trade back some sort of experience. But Mowgli just hoofs it across back to find Broxah on Raptor camp and gets a free pickup.
And honestly, we look across the board, this is exactly the kind of turnaround, exactly the kind of start that Vitality needed coming into Game 2, and we can take a look back at some of this action as it played out. We'll hold that thought for a second, though. Jactroll now moving down for a little bit of vision, and Fnatic very wary now, you can tell. Suddenly worried about the rinse and repeat, but Mowgli has returned to the top side of the map.
I like what Jactroll is doing here with the very deep vision to make sure that they can catch Broxah at any point. The game plan seems to be that we are going to find Broxah at every turn as we take another look at that replay.
And it's just such a good start because it's Jiizuké flashing forward for the immediate Winter's Bite and Attila with the W at level 1. They're maybe even looking for more kills because if you get the first blood, that's going to reset. And I think the pathing was super important as well because it was Mowgli going straight red buff on top side to the bottom lane, and Broxah, who changed his pathing initially, last game he started blue buff, got invaded on. This time he went to red buff to go topside, was nowhere near to try to react.
And of course, as we look across the game, wondering where the next point of action is going to be, as it has already been incredibly explosive. 1K gold lead, 5 minutes in. This is what we expected from Fnatic in the second half of the split, but this time around it's Vitality with the big lead, and Broxah not spotting that ward is going to be crucial as they move forward. Mowgli will have perfect information on his jungle pathing.
It opens up the options for Mowgli about where he wants to attack next or where he wants to farm next, and he actually pinged Broxah. He's sprinting towards this Karthus.
Yeah, he can just run on in here now. Teleport's going to dissuade him. There's also a ward that Mowgli was walking over, but I think it is worth calling out that this is a Mowgli playing for the bottom side of the map now. I believe Fnatic would have seen him EQ in towards the pit, and without mid lane priority, this is going to be a bit of a risky move here from Mowgli. He's going to have to leave.
And to be fair, they did this in the previous game, and it feels like this time around, Broxah was ready for it. Last time it was an Infernal, and Mowgli was able to sneak it away. This time with the Ocean, it's not going to happen. But Jiizuké heading down, ready to get something kicked off as Jactroll steps forward, trying to extend this play here, the leap forward, one more auto. Attila going for these big trades on the bottom side, trying to extend a bit of an advantage here. Mowgli now moving down. 3v3, but both sides are just going to back off.
It almost looked like disaster. I kind of held my breath for a moment because I was like, oh no, Attila and Jactroll, they know that Fnatic are on the bottom side. Why are they overreaching here again? But Mowgli smartly covered for them, also cheating down, denying Broxah the reach around to land the wall of pain, and Attila and Jactroll still in safety.
Yeah, Attila gonna get hooked up here. Hylissang, will he pull the trigger with Broxah waiting in the wings? They're looking for the counter gank.
Trying to keep it going, looking to stack some concussive blows, but immediately the TP's coming back. Fnatic classic. Jactroll now in trouble, is all but set to die. Bwipo now stepping forward. Can he get out of the change? Does manage to step away. Jactroll just barely maybe going to be able to live, but the flash forward. Broxah going to be able to grab it in the end.
It's a beautiful punish from Fnatic to have Broxah waiting there, to have the TP come in from Bwipo, but also a massive mistake from the side of Vitality. Cabochard had just reset and used his own teleport to get back into the lane. Bwipo had his up, so Vitality only ever had the opportunity to have 3 members in the bottom lane, where Fnatic, they brought 4.
And it just has to be said that there just seems to be a desync between Vitality's bot lane and the rest of the map. This is time and time again that Jactroll and Attila are the breaking point for Vitality, not just in this playoff series, but in the regular split.
And you can feel the momentum off of this play as well, because they have Mowgli hop over the wall. They think, we can get Rekkles, we can make this play happen, but there's a TP coming in. Again, no cannon on the back half, so Bwipo's able to bring enough CC here to lock down Jactroll and finish him off for a kill on towards Broxah, who we know completely dominated Vitality in Game 1.
And it's frankly a double-edged sword. You know, we're excited to see the Vitality are diversifying themselves, that they're playing around the bottom side, that they threw down the gauntlet and said, I've got your pick, Rekkles, and now I'm going to play through the bottom lane. But Attila just cannot make it happen for his team.
Ooh, and this is going to be a difficult spot for Bwipo to find himself in. The stun not going to connect from Cabo in the end, but trading the ultimate for very little there. Flash as well, still down for Bwipo. So in the end, a favorable trade for Cabochard in terms of summoner spells, but obviously health very much in favor of Bwipo.
And Cabochard, of course, going to have a CS lead, and now Bwipo with no flash and no ult, and the wave pushing against him at the time being, that's just a little... That's brutal. He's able to check it. He knows he lands the W. The Arcane Comment as well, in case he's not able to figure that out. No, it's still really hard for him to see us up here in this lane. I wonder what the response is from Fnatic on the other side, because they don't actually have any play to go on, because both bot lanes just reset.
Yeah, Mowgli's about 75% to level 6, so he'd have to sit around for quite a few minions sharing the experience, so rightfully just kind of backs away from that one.
And laning against Bwipo, it feels like always just comes with a tent. If you want to shut down Fnatic, it feels like so often that is the name of the game, and especially on the side of Vitality. For now, Cabo is building that excellent early CS advantage that we expect from him in this winning matchup, and Mowgli going to make sure that some tower plays are going to go in his favor as well.
Now, what Mowgli is doing might look crazy to some because he's staying around top lane for so long, but they have such good vision control on the bottom side. He knows there was no counterplay coming in on this side of the map, so they're trying to completely zone Bwipo off the tower, not go for the dive because that's still a little bit risky, but it leaves their bottom lane with some risk of their own if Nemesis finds a rotation down for the dive.
It's also the fact that it's an Ocean Drake, and now that you see that Nemesis is making that dive, that you're still dealing with both summoners on Jactroll and Attila. having access to the flashes, and then it's a Tristana and it's a Braum. So like Deficio was saying, step 1, back away from the tower. Step 2, make sure that you get something else on the top side of the map.
So we see a complete trade here because it was Vitality that zoned Bwipo off the tower for about a wave and a half up top side. The same thing just happened towards Attila and Jactroll on the bottom half of things, but you have to wonder, like, what is better, to have an Aatrox down in CS or an AD carry Tristana down in CS? And I think that's going to put Attila at somewhat of a rough spot here as Rekkles cashes in on both minions as well as these plates.
And there's no Herald here. So we are just seeing the Ocean Drake being given over for free. That's going to make a lot of these lanes a lot easier for Fnatic. The jungle, especially Broxah, in a position where he can donate future blue buffs because that Ocean will keep him topped up in the jungle, keep him clearing quick. So a difficult spot to be in, because for top lane, especially when you're living on that island, Bwipo having that extra regen is frustrating, but now potentially overextending as they're going to try to get the play started. Will the ulti even come out? Bwipo just going to get taken down instantly.
Mowgli has been up here for the last 2.5 minutes. It's just a ridiculous tent that's been set up. If I'm Bwipo, I'm probably like, he's still here, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge investment of time on the side of Mowgli, and Bwipo, ultimately, he does have to farm. He's going to be knocked down quite a bit, but this is what the turnaround now for Vitality, because they were sort of losing when it was going even with the denial of the Aatrox, the Tristana. I think Fnatic had the edge. Now that Mowgli got the kill up top lane and is looking for this Herald as well, that's going to give Vitality the tools now to try and knock down some more towers.
And honestly, perfectly timed then in the end to get this play in their favor, but Fnatic looking to respond with something of their own on the bottom side. A few more tower plates, a bit more gold into the pocket of Rekkles and Hylissang, and getting this Kai'Sa rolling. Of course, you know, 2 items, a very strong spike for Kai'Sa still if she wants to go for the full evolution route.
And notice now how Fnatic are actually moving around the map, because it's no longer Broxah and Nemesis coming towards bottom lane, because I don't think they are fully confident in pulling off a dive themselves. Instead, it is Broxah just hard clearing his jungle, trying to get as much golden experience as he possibly can, while Nemesis, when he pushes out the wave and has nothing he can pick up, walks bottom lane and tries to deny away from Attila. So it's Fnatic now, with the knowledge that Mowgli is always topside, really just min-maxing what they can gain on the map.
And constantly threatening this bottom side. You can see Fog of War, not a lot of information for Vitality. They can make some guesses, they can make some assumptions, but it's a consistent commitment of 4 members to the bottom side, and with 1 tower plate standing, or 1.5 here, it looks like Fnatic will just be able to barrel down and take out this tower. And getting this tower first before the cannon is going to put Vitality in a bit of a difficult spot.
Especially because, as we keep kind of asking this question, what's better, the Aatrox being behind or the Tristana being behind? It's 3 items versus 2, but Bwipo in mid.
Well, that thought Bwipo has now used the ultimate. It's going to be a sleepy Aatrox. They're going to try to burn through here. Resurrection coming out. Will be able to walk away safely. So had the ultimate, had that get out of jail free card, will not be punished.
But back to the point, it's this idea that in both Fnatic's compositions, by taking a Kai'Sa and a Vayne, not only do you have late game scaling potential, but you have champions that spike very hard off of 2 items, whereas Attila will never have that luxury. So if you look at the likes of the Aatrox, of the Kai'Sa, even of the Karthus, yes, this team can hyperscale and win past 30 minutes no matter what, but at 2 items, they are so powerful.
Yeah, I think the top side of the map for Vitality is well equipped to sort of battle at that same point, but no, the Tristana really does need to wait for that 3rd item so you can hit 75% crit chance, really make the most out of that Infinity Edge. And now it's 3 members on the bottom side, and once again, Bwipo being bullied just a little bit.
And this swap does mean that we're going to see some priority on the top lane for Fnatic. Kennen, of course, going to struggle if 2 members do appear there. Going to have to be willing to commit to a big play, but it's just tower plating for now for the side of Vitality. But this wave will start to disappear, and as it does, Bwipo does not hesitate to go back in. Jactroll pull back. Bwipo has been getting a lot away with a lot of dirty plays this game, and it looks like this game will be no exception.
For real, man. Bwipo is literally one dude who does not have the World Ender, by the way, is walking up, clearing the waves, and Vitality are like, I guess we just let him do it and lose our own tower at the same time.
This guy is, I don't want to say lucky, but just teams lose their minds when they approach Bwipo.
Your absolute overwhelming desire to dive this man blinds you. Now there's a TP. Oh,
really?
Guys, leave Bwipo alone. And it looks like Vitality, realizing that their only play here is to fully commit to the bottom side. You can see Rekkles on the top side. Fnatic are going to have the tempo advantage, no doubt. But it's a desperate TP to try to get something back on the side of Vitality. But this is going to be their first tower of the game, as they haven't been able to get anything else. And Fnatic, this is their second.
On the other side of the map, Jiizuké has completely run himself out of mana, and there are 3 members of Fnatic in the mid lane. Oh, wait, what?
That tower's still there! They've lost control of the bottom lane. They've lost control of the top lane.
Eventually, Frosk. Don't you worry. But it takes so long.
Okay.
This is actually disaster, because the thing is like you were saying, Jiizuké was out of mana because he was just trying to hold the fort on the mid lane tower. That now is taken down to about half health. Nemesis is probably going to clear this wave and reset himself, but Fnatic now can just 5-man mid lane and shove this down.
Exactly. You hear me and Frost sort of losing our minds about not being able to take that tower fastly in the bottom lane.
It delays so many backs.
Exactly. It's about the timing plays here, because Fnatic are able to sort of get back onto the map a little bit quicker. Jiizuké still hasn't reset as well, and the only tower Fnatic have yet to take is this mid lane hour, which is already at 50% HP. So now Jiizuké has the blue buff, can hopefully try to clear away these waves, but those are the things that have to be running through the minds of Fnatic, because this is a team that is so good at using advantages, finding windows, and that's what the timing gives them.
And you can see on the bottom there that the plates taken is actually very similar. The difference is that all of the plates are very focused for Fnatic. That's 2 towers down, only to the 1 on the side of Vitality, so they're going to get a lot more map control there. And now it just feels like we're once again in a situation where, yes, Cabo feels pretty comfortable on a side lane. Yes, Jiizuké seems okay, but that bot lane is just going to struggle as we move further into the game.
Now here's the thing though, is we've been fairly critical, I think, of Vitality so far in this early game, but it's a different story when it comes to the team play than game 1, because game 1, Fnatic had the scaling, they had the team fight, Vitality had nothing. Oh boy.
Hold on.
He's gonna get out scot-free, but the difference is now Vitality are the ones with the...
What? Jiizuké! What? Did you forget about the... They always forget about the Karthus. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 200, 300 less health than you think you do, and that means that Broxah is just going to grab a kill.
And these are these uncharacteristic mistakes that you can just not make against one of our top teams like Fnatic. You know, if Jiizuké survives there and he's able to wave clear, you're delaying a little bit more. I'm like, you know, the issue with Fnatic's comp is they don't have the hard engage if Nemesis isn't also helping them push that mid lane. Zoe able to absorb 3 people's pressure and stalled out for Vitality, but he's caught. He's chipped away. He makes a mistake.
I think it's the pressure of the moment here for Vitality, because we've seen it from their bottom lane, their mid lane, mistakes that they just should not be making. This is a playoff caliber team. This team should come into this match and be able to contest, but all of a sudden, it's these moves that you don't expect to see out of this squad, and it has to be the moment where they know they're 1 game down. They just made a couple of misplays. It felt like Fnatic had more control over the map, when in reality, this is the game now where Vitality can play the waiting game a little bit. Tristana is one of the best AD carries in the late game. The range she has is so powerful. They have teamfight tools. Just don't go in 1v5.
Have to be careful about the risk that they are going to take. What options they are going to go for. Nemesis throwing the claw over, threatening Vitality, and you will see Attila revealed now in the mid lane. We check in on the itemization though. You talk about stalling for the late game. We expect 3 items on Attila if you're on the stall for the late game plan. On the opposite side, we already mentioned it for Rekkles. 2 items is the name of the game for that Kai'Sa. Of course, the Ginsus and the Storm Razor here. So not too far off that point, and that's a terrifying spot to be in. Unless, of course, Jiizuké decides to one-shot him. But Hylissang is there to block him out. He's not going to get knocked out.
Yeah, they've got Cabo rotating over.
Yeah, Cabo is here. Vitality, they want to 5-man and knock down this tower. And with Fnatic split up in side lanes, they don't have the numbers to be able to contest.
Hylissang looking for the hook. Not going to find it there in the end. Rekkles will move back to the mid lane. Of course, Bwipo free in the side lane, though, to continue pressuring in. It is now 3 towers to 3. Vitality doing a good job of evening things up. And Jiizuké, it feels like some of these bubbles must just be a point and click.
Jiizuké, definitely one of the better Zoe players here in the LEC. But I really do like what I'm seeing now from Vitality and how they're playing their side lanes. Because last game, it was sort of a battle of attrition where they had to constantly just, you know, have Lucian in the side lane, push up, try to take towers, which they could not do. Now it is very different. Vitality are pushing the side lanes and using the responsive Fnatic, where Bwipo and Nemesis have to go to the sides and pick up waves to attack in the mid lane. And while it's not a team fight this time around, it is a tower which will later transition into Vitality looking for the engagements.
Hold on, Bwipo, maybe a 2v1.
Of course, have to be careful here as this has turned against Vitality once or twice already. But Bwipo now, I think, willing to take the fight here. If his ultimate does fall off, he's going to find himself in a tough position. Now stepping forward, realizing that he may have overstayed, but the auto attack actually going to proc it, so he gets his health back.
This is real bad for Vitality.
Over, Rekkles on the way off, all it's going to take is a little bit of CC, and Kai'Sa's going to come flying in, and there it is! Rekkles on cleanup duty! 2 kills instantly picked up. Vitality once again overextend.
Attila just needed to wait half a second there, just a little bit more time before he could knock down Bwipo without giving him the full revive. But it's never a true 2 versus 1 with a Karthus in the game, and with Fnatic reacting on the other side of the map. Off of the back of that play, again, Vitality overcommitting for these small skirmishes. They lose 2 members, they're going to lose a tower in the mid lane, and full pressure on the map.
The flash play. Jiizuké now trying to sidestep his way out of there, but Broxah on a killing spree. Now locked up Mowgli. Oh no, he's just gonna get taken down once again. Rekkles grabbing the kill as well, and instantly a massive gold lead in the favor of Fnatic. 3K, almost 4K in their favor.
From bad to worse for Vitality fans right there. It's the fact, again, these very small mistakes they make, someone overstaying on the top side of the map. It's the fact that not only do Fnatic punish the overextension, but they've already got another wave prepared where Nemesis is like, guys, just rotate very quickly to mid lane. If anyone overstays, we pull the trigger. Haley looks for the flank. Suddenly 2 more members are dead, and the tower is gone for free. And Bwipo, hey guys, if you want to rotate top, I'm also fed this wave in.
It's just falling apart across the board here for Vitality. And if you look at the gold, you see where did these teams invest their resources early on? Well, on one side, it's Rekkles with a 2K gold lead. On the other side of the map in the top lane, it's Cabochard with a massive advantage as well. But we just saw Bwipo, even down in gold, is holding his own in the 1 versus 2, and Rekkles is scaling into this Kai'Sa monster in the late game. Let's check it out one more time in style, because again, look at the bar underneath Bwipo's HP. Once that times out, it goes red. That means it's low. Attila just has to finish him off.
And I'm not even gonna say anything for that one.
Bye-bye.
One man got deleted. That's really all that it is at the end of the day. Rekkles continuing to just be where he needs to be with the rest of the team. It's so easy for Fnatic to play this one out. They have a lot of mobility across all these champions to find these picks.
I mean, at this point, Fnatic are just sharks. They smell blood in the water. They're hunting Vitality and tearing them apart.
And really, I think you just always have to give respect to this Fnatic lineup, because you just... First half of the season, everyone, I think, thought that they were done. But the way that they have turned it around in the second half has been immaculate, and they just continue to prove, of course, on a 9-game winning streak after that last game, will move up to 10 if they win here, and they are looking pretty unstoppable.
And the thing is you expect, it doesn't matter. Fnatic, they're a very veteran team. They don't necessarily need a streak behind them to find momentum. For Vitality, this is a huge momentum-based team. This is still a very young squad, coming into their 2019 season of the LEC and going down 2 games. I mean, for me, that's like, this is going to be a 3-0. If Vitality lose here, I don't know where they find the fire, where they find the fuel.
Yeah, it's scary too, because Vitality, they had the momentum at the start of this game, right? It was Mowgli's, creative jungle pathing to get them such a big lead in that bottom lane, but then they face plant, right? They were going too fast. They just skidded off the rails, and now down 4,000 gold. Yes, they have the hope of a perfect team fight on the horizon, but with the way Fnatic have been playing and with the way they have been controlling the map thus far, it doesn't feel like they're giving any room for Vitality to sort of retake parts of the area.
And this was something that when we went back and watched the tape from Vitality versus Fnatic the first 2 times, it was always the fact that even when Fnatic lost, they felt like they were being the ones that were dictating tempo and pace. And outside of a very impressive early game from Vitality, they've just been reactive to Fnatic.
Ooh, and now I think you're kind of just waiting with bated breath. Of course, 2 items now coming in for Attila. The 3rd item going to be crucial if they want to go later into the game. And it's not a last game. There is a lot more options once again for the side of Vitality, but Nemesis clearly out for blood. Cloud Drake going to make it that much easier to close the distance. Nemesis ready to go in. You can see Jactroll now in trouble trying to retreat with the Unbreakable. Jiizuké stepping forward, but taking so much damage in return. Bwipo ready to fire there, but they're not going to be able to grab any kills. Still a lot of pressure. I take that back. We're going to wait and see. Where's it going to go?
Oh my word. Now look at Fnatic. They're going to go over here towards the Baron. I think it's just 22 minutes into the game, but that ult did so much damage, Jiizuké had to go back to base. Now he does have the teleport, so he can get back here on towards the map, but Vitality, they're going to have to check in.
And all eyes need to be on Mowgli. Doesn't have access to the flash, doesn't have access to the blast cone. He needs to flag and drag into this pit if he wants a chance.
Ooh, they're going to get a little bit of sight there with Redemption. 2K, Fnatic now retreating, not willing to take the risk. Mowgli stepping forward, though. They're immediately going to try to turn on him. But we're not going to be able to find the second stack of the Darkened Blade. They will force Fnatic off of the Baron for now. Vitality, are they going to look for the fight here? Big risk, but they might be willing to take it.
Yes, because they have Cabochard, who's level 14. Finally, the Kennen is actually grouped up with Vitality, so Vitality feels so confident right now.
Vitality also have minions here in the mid lane. They're trying to siege down under this tower. This is a very brief window of time where Vitality have control over the map because of the mistake. Go Cabo!
Oh! Immediately, Cabo trying to leap in. Broxah not going to get taken down, though. Cabo goes golden, but in the middle of the team, there's no ultimate available. He's just going to get taken out. Meanwhile, on the backside, Attila gets 1, going to try to find 2, but the stopwatch is there for Bwipo. And they're going to back off, instantly turned back. Now, Fnatic overstay for the Baron, but it's Vitality who overstay in mid lane.
Vitality, they had the window, but they went way too far.
Rekkles on a rampage. Instant TP into that pit, and it is Jiizuké versus the world.
Jiizuké, you're going to get spotted out, buddy. You're in some trouble.
Sidestep there, Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Hylissang, the hook not going to connect. Bwipo now chasing him down. World Ender going to make him so incredibly fast. Jiizuké just trying to buy time, just trying to stall, just trying to get anything done here, but there's so much damage going to be laid down on this Baron between the Kai'Sa and, of course, the Karthus as well.
Yeah, Jiizuké thinks, hey, if I pull the AD carry off the Baron, they can't take it. But there's still a Karthus inside of this pit, so at just 24 minutes, Fnatic will claim that objective. They're looking to go up 2-0. They're looking to carry all the momentum into Game 3.
And things looked so good for Vitality for a split second. It looked like hope had been reignited for this team. You know, Cabo finally grouped up with him, had the level advantage. He's been sitting off in these side lanes, just kind of doing his own thing. He's gonna get the massive cannon ultimate. But read like a book. Fnatic just absorb the pressure, they back up, and eventually just turn it around as soon as Vitality overbite.
And look, it looks like a pretty good slicing Maelstrom. You know, he caught a lot of people inside of it, but he's between two towers, and the rest of his team could not follow up with any damage. The team fight ended up being relatively easy for Fnatic, and now with Rekkles sitting on 3 of his core items, the static shift as well, we see one more time. The initial engage from Jactroll did not hit, and then Cabochard goes way too deep. CC'd under tower. The front line of Vitality has no HP to stand up.
And really, it was just a trade of engages there. The Lissandra went forward and stopped Vitality from pushing any further. The Kennen went forward on the opposite side. The difference is, Fnatic are way in the lead. So after the Lissandra's dead, they've still got a ton left in the tank.
Not only that, but Fnatic's composition are also strong right now. There's still so much wind-up time for Vitality. So again, it goes back to this point. It just feels that Fnatic have Vitality's number. They know exactly how they want to play this series, and they're just 40 chess every single time.
Ooh, Nemesis could use the Proto Belt to dodge the knockup, but still, the ultimate is there. He's now running for his life, and he will make it out. Flash is forced in the end, however.
It's about the best thing they could get in this situation, but you got 5 people towards the bottom side of the map. Rekkles just needs a few seconds with this tower to knock it down to Vitality. They need to find an engagement, it feels like, around one of these towers, because if they don't, Fnatic have the tools just split up the map, knock down these towers, and win without a fight.
And we're here once again. We were here last game where we said the miracle fight for Vitality is what it's going to take for them to find a way back in the game. And we've said it before, and I'll say it one more time. They have the tools to do it. But it is still, feels like a nigh impossible task. It's a 10K gold lead this time around. An even bigger lead for Fnatic here in Game 2. And this Kai'Sa is terrifying. Broxah is once again at that murder Karthus point where his ulti is going to take half of someone's health away.
And if you talk about items, this is the second game in a row that Nemesis on Lissandra has gone for the Mejai's Stole Stealer as well. So you can just feel how confident Fnatic are in this game. Again, it's a 3-1-1 push at the moment because this top inhibitor is exposed. They're so close to knocking it down. You see Vitality have to send so many members to defend.
It also means that it denies that Kennen ultimate on multiple members again. By splitting up the map, by funneling everything into Vitality, they need to pick. You know, are we going to go for a pick, or are we going to try to flank the other 4 members? And they're picking neither. They're actually just watching themselves lose the game.
All 3 inhibitors are now set to fall. Baron buff still up for 45 seconds. I don't think Fnatic are going to go for the win here. Jiizuké desperately trying to get something back, clear out a few of these minions. But Vitality on their last legs here already in Game 2, only 26 minutes into the game.
You know, last game Vitality waited until all 3 inhibitors and both Nexus towers were down before they forced a fight. I'd really like to see them do it a little faster this game.
I unfortunately think that they've missed their window. So at this point, Vitality are saying, good news. We've got 3 farm lanes that will funnel into us, which means Tristana now has access to safe farm and hopefully can get to 3 items. Bad news, we're missing 3 of our inhibitors, and we have no control over the map. We can't go anywhere safely.
See, now if I'm Vitality, I'm like, good news, there's still Game 3.
And that is incredibly disappointing for a team that was in sole control of second for so long in the split. When Schalke started to fall down, Vitality still stood near the top of the standings, but in these last few weeks, so many teams have risen up. Fnatic, one of them, OG as well, finding their place at the top of the standings. Fnatic securing 3rd in what was, for many, what felt like a miracle run towards the end of the split. Good news is that 3-item point is there, Froskurinn. Attila has, you know, the 75% crit chance. The energized attacks may be enough to reset in these fights, but they need to get something started in their favor.
And it is also nice that they do have a traditional tank. Mowgli, again, went for the Cinderhulk Gargoyle Stoneplate on the Jarvan, so a very true traditional tank, because Attila now needs to be able to fight front to back, and he needs Mowgli to create that zone, that space for him, and he needs to do it right about now.
Bwipo, though, now looking to push in for a bit more. There's a TP on the flank. Cabochard, it could all come down to this. One ultimate, but Mowgli's already almost dead. Cabo, where's he gonna go? Flash forward, wants to get in on a Rekkles, but he can't quite get into range. The stun is beautiful, it denies the engage, and Cabo, the entire team is gonna get taken out here by Nemesis. Cabochard flashing forward, he will get the 1v1 1-for-1 trade, but no. In comes the ultimate from Karthus. Fnatic now trying to clean house. There's nothing left for Jiizuké. He goes golden, but it's just a matter of time. The Skittle not going to be able to pop as the flash does come out, but Fnatic setting their sights on the base. Vitality finding themselves caught against a wall. Fnatic absolutely dominating across both of these games. They are 1 win away from taking the series.
Fnatic are just rolling in and making it look easy time after time. Vitality can pressure them in the early game, but no, this team knows how to play the map. They take every single objective on the map before finally running it down for the Nexus.
And I actually like the adjustments that Vitality made to their composition. I love the fact that they picked up the Kennen, who gives them that side lane pressure, but also has teamfight utility. I love the fact that they had the late game insurance policy in the Tristana, as well as denying away from Rekkles. But the problem then is not just the playstyle and the strategy that you're trying to execute, but the individual pieces trying to execute it. This is constantly individual player mistakes that are throwing the series away for Vitality.
Yeah, they were not macro mistakes, they were not draft mistakes. No, it was just those individual players. And that's sort of the hardest thing to talk about and fix going into the next game, because on one hand you say, sure, we just don't do that again, we don't mess up individually, and we should be in a good position to win that game. But on the other hand, there's no real change you can make.
And Fnatic is a team, of course, performing admirably, but Bwipo, I mean, this is just going to build, this reputation just continues to build, but this is a man who can tank so much pressure and remain relevant in the game. Last time, obliterate him. And admittedly, he was useless that game. But now we see Vitality try a similar strategy where they're willing to put him into the ground. They give the advantage pick to Cabo, but they can't get anything out of it. The Aatrox was still very relevant. The Gangplank in game 1 was still very relevant, and the Lucian just was invisible. So Vitality are just running out of options.
It goes back to this idea of responsibility, and it's really hard to look at a team like Fnatic and kind of figure out exactly what changed. People want to see something big. This guy used to feed, and now this guy carries. So obviously, this is what made Fnatic better. But it's so much more intangible than that. Bwipo said it's about trust, and it's about responsibility and knowing what you need to do in your team comp, and that's exactly what it is. Bwipo knows what his responsibility is to Fnatic. Absorb the pressure, and I know that the rest of the map will be able to step up and to carry.
And it worked out so incredibly well for Fnatic here in game 2. But to get more insight on that game, let's head over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, and I think Frosk summarized it there perfectly, and we will also be diving deeper into exactly how much Bwipo absorbed. I do also want to take a look at the team comps, because after game 1 we said, as Vitality, you want to take a lot of these factors and rinse and repeat, but make less mistakes. What do you think of the adjustments they made, Vedius?
Well, I think that the adjustments, I don't think there were that many
Camera's
changes.
over here,
yeah, but I was looking at the draft.
Oh, okay,
the draft.
sorry.
I don't think there were too many adjustments in the sense that you still got Cabochard, a winning lane that you could look to play around. They're still going up against the Karthus, so they don't have to be too worried about Cabochard. And when you're playing with a Tristana Braum, you do have a slightly stronger early game, which means that you can look to make plays, but ultimately it felt like Vitality came in with the same game plan, and it was just a matter of being able to execute better this time.
I think Fnatic made a really nice adjustment when they took Aatrox in the first phase, because in the first game we had Renekton and Aatrox being banned. They're kind of some of the safest blind top laners you can get. They're hard to tower dive. Aatrox especially, once he's past level 6. If you are tower diving him, which we saw them try to do with GP, and they kind of failed some of it, it's going to be even harder against Aatrox. So there was even less room for Cabo snowball, and therefore also less room for mistakes on Vitality side, because Aatrox would be able to just kind of sit there past level 6 and hold for as long as possible. And that meant obviously the focus went bot side instead. And I think the Tristana pick, I actually think it was fine, and they tried to play around it, which was good. But again, you need to know when you're going aggressive and when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But at the start, things actually looked pretty positive for them, because one of the highlighting players was Mowgli at the beginning of this game, and I felt like that he did find a lot of success. And this was one of the very early ganks. He actually decided to go from red to blue immediately into bot. And bear in mind, the bot lane of Vitality is still level 1. So we talked about how there is room to make these plays because of the Braum setup, and finding this quick kill was a great way for Vitality to start.
Yeah, because they were trying to get a winning bot lane now, because they know they're already winning top lane, and Mowgli can gank. And here, Broxah expects Mowgli to just do the 2 camps on his bottom side, the Gromp and Wolf still alive. So he gets surprised when Mowgli just runs straight through the mid lane and actually shows up here to kill Broxah. So it's a great start for Vitality, just like the first game we watched. But then it starts going wrong.
Yeah, and I think also some of the main criticisms we had against Vitality where Mowgli is not reacting well to these kind of plays early. They had a much better game plan. But as you said, after that is where everything, once again, and in much the same matter as in the game 1 starts going south for Vitality, and we have him here behind us and on your screen also. Bwipo, this guy, I mean, we love to talk about him, he loves to talk as well, but when he does things like this...
Yeah, so at this point, obviously, we have Fnatic bot lane that's taking the turret because they got that kill. Bwipo TPing down, they now gone top. Bwipo now holds on his own, and Jactroll takes a ton of damage, so now they can't really tower dive him, even though he doesn't have ulti available, and he gets to clear the full wave the first time, and he even sneaks back in here, waiting to see if he can actually get more damage on some minions to stop the turret from dying while they're getting topside. And at this point, Bwipo is able to do too many things for his team that just allows Rekkles to get further ahead.
And let me then ask you, if this happens 1, 2, 3, 4 times, how much of it is then Bwipo being great at deflecting, and how much is it Vitality just making the same mistake over and over again?
Well, I think it's a combination of the two. I do think at times in this game, Bwipo was definitely making some questionable decisions, but at the same time, the fact that he was able to limit the options of Vitality, try and punish as much as he could in those very small windows, delayed them a lot, which made it even harder for them to get back into the game. But at the same time, one of the things that we were talking about was that it's really difficult to find praises for Fnatic because honestly, it just feels like they're just watching Vitality lose. And these individual mistakes are really critical because it's just allowing Fnatic to get these leads that they then refuse to let go of.
Yeah, I think Bwipo, he makes some mistakes, and the game plan is solid from Vitality in saying we will kill him. Like, there's the moment where he doesn't have ult or flash, and he just starts pushing forward on top side, and he just dies right to a quick gank. But apart from that, I think it's almost a battle between, can Bwipo die enough times before the bot lane of the bot lane of Vitality have now died too many times, because they will like fly forward when Cabochard just TP'd back to his lane and Bwipo didn't.
Yeah.
And he TP's down to the bottom side.
I also think it's nice to track Bwipo's development because we know, of course, last year he came in, so has broke his hand. He had to be plugged and played, and he's dealt with some criticisms, I think rightfully so. And he also said on Euphoria, now this is the playoffs that I also have to show it. So this is a great start. And it also seems that that Fnatic that is just on the same page that we saw the last couple of weeks is still there. Because it's very hard to say Nemesis played out of his mind or Rekkles played out of his mind. That machine is working overtime.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting that it's the exact same way Fnatic are winning these games. It's once again, it's either you sack top lane and play heavy for bot lane, like they did here with the TP coming down early, or you swap it around if it's Bwipo getting the counter pick. But he's not getting it because obviously Vitality are red side, so they can always last pick for Cabochard. And then it just becomes the bot lane show, and Nemesis literally just pushes his lane and goes bot lane.
So, Vitality chose blue. I get it
trying to
for
change
the next
it.
one.
Okay.
And as for what you just said, I guess that makes sense because twice you were on red side, twice you made your plan as such with Cabochard with a strong pick. Now, what are they going to first pick? What is their plan? And are they going to change everything up, or should you still bet on that Cabochard?
Well, I mean, this time they could be the ones to look to prioritize the Karthus. Maybe they're the ones that go for the scaling. But it's like, right now, I don't know if changes in the draft will be enough to change things for Vitality, because I just need to see them just play to their win conditions. And twice now, we've said the bot lane just needs to let topside win. And topside has been getting advantages to allow Vitality to get to a state where they can actually fight Fnatic. But the bot lane keeps making these mistakes, they get punished for it, and then we never actually get to see an even match between the two teams.
And that's where we now establish that the original Vitality win condition, it simply doesn't work against Fnatic. Because Fnatic, they will make less mistakes, especially around the bottom side. And that means you can't do this, Cabo will win his lane, bot lane play safe. It simply doesn't work 2 games in a row due to taking fights you don't have to. So I think with swapping here, obviously they want to try and get a mega power pick with first pick. And I think there's a chance they just go scaling and team fight. And say, listen, this early game snowball, we're not smart enough to play this style right now. We need to just try and go for something completely different, which in this case would be team fighting.
What if they just attack the bot lane then? What if they just go for like a Lucian Braum lane or a Lucian Thresh lane, and they just hard commit to trying to snowball? And if this bot lane is so determined to fight, then you put your faith in Cabo to be the surviving lane, and then you try and snowball bot.
We just have to remember now, Fnatic red side, they have all the options to counterpick wherever they want. They could counterpick support.
Bwipo will get something comfortable no matter what.
Bwipo could get a counterpick on his side, and then maybe Cabochard is losing, and then it's all about the bot lane. And again, it's not really worked for them so far. So it's very, very difficult. they probably have to realize that it's something completely different and surprising they have to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Fnatic have shown they're just a better team.
Yeah, from the side of Vitality, after last year and everything Yamato said about it's time for the titles, this would be the biggest disappointment I think ever for those guys. So they have to put their brains in there and think of a plan. Think of a plan to maybe beat Fnatic and maybe run the gauntlet and the reverse sweep. But on the other side is Fnatic from 9th place after 3 weeks to match point against Vitality in the playoffs. Is there anything stopping Fnatic here in the spring split? Time will tell.
Origin.
But we're gearing up for game 3.
I knew you would.
Don't miss it.
They think no one's going to come. They think it's just going to be topside, but they're oh so wrong. Rekkles trying to make it out to safety. He can't click the lantern, and that's first blood. Broxah is going to be in a tough spot. He's going to be sleepy. He has to be dead. There's literally no way out here.
I can go. I have him.
Yeah, you have him.
Oh. He's dead. He's dead.
Nice. There's plans.
This is real bad for Vitality. Over. Rekkles on the way off. All it's going to take is a little bit of CC, and Kai'Sa's going to come flying in. And there it is. Rekkles on cleanup duty.
Can I dead?
I have stopwatch. Tristana tank.
He flashed.
Can we go Nash? I basically Nash. Okay, listen.
Fnatic absolutely dominating across both of these games. They are 1 win away from taking the series.
What's for lunch?
Broccoli. Do you know who eats broccoli?
Children always do what their heroes do. Introducing Eat Like a Pro with Beko Home Appliances. Visit our website and discover our exclusive healthy FC Barcelona recipes to eat like a pro.
Welcome back to the LEC Spring Playoffs, where it is do or die for Vitality. Their road to Rotterdam could end here as Fnatic are on match point. Game 1 was close in the early game. Individual missteps cost Vitality. In Game 2, it was the same story, and we have to wonder, for the sake of Vitality fans, if that story is going to change as we approach Game 3.
And fun fact is that Vitality are now on blue side, so theoretically the draft should dramatically change. At least I would hope so. I did like the adaptations that Vitality made from Game 1 to Game 2, you know, putting Cabochard on the likes of the Kennen, having more teamfight utility, but now I think it's like, this is your Hail Mary. Like, if you've got the weird picks, start bringing it out, because Urgot's been completely missing from these drafts. Kayle has been completely missing. Like, there are options to reach for.
Yeah, we were sort of confused a little bit coming into these drafts because some of the champions we thought were maybe going to define the playoffs just did not go seen, whereas, like, we've seen Hecarim banned 2 times. That was a blue side ban from the side of Fnatic. So now, where does that fall into the grand scheme of things? This Karthus pick, do Vitality want it themselves, or do they just take it off the board?
Big question, of course, as we head into our 3rd game. And of course, 9.6 still very young. This is only, you know, the 2nd game. Now the 3rd game we'll see on this patch. Maybe there is more to be learned about this patch. Kayle, Urgot maybe could show up here as Vitality's back is most certainly against the wall.
But I love the fact that you bring up the Karthus ender, because you and I were kind of talking between the games that Vitality probably love the fact that Broxah is on Karthus. I mean, it is definitely hurting them in this game, and it looks very clear as a viewer, like, get rid of this champion, do something about it. But theoretically, would you rather Broxah be on a champion that does nothing for the early game and gives Mowgli just free run? Or would you rather Broxah be on something that's hyper proactive and in your face?
Probably not the hyper proactive and in your face if you are on the side of Vitality, but after losing to it 2 times in a row, they have made the decision to remove. And I think that with Vitality coming over to the blue side, they maybe feel less pressure to ban away some specific champions on red and are now looking specifically for the 2 champs that have worked for Fnatic this series.
And that is the Karthus and the Lissandra. Now for Fnatic, still draining away the Draven. We still see the Hecarim taken off the board, the Rakan taken away from Hylissang as well, but a lot of engage options taken away, a lot of safe picks taken away, and of course, the clutch Karthus off the board as well.
And speaking slightly to this Rakan ban, because we have seen it so much, I think it is worth pointing out that the Xayah has been so good on this patch, big buffs to the attack speed on the W, that removing Rakan makes the pairing a little worse.
But I do want to talk about the champion that slipped through Fnatic's bans, which have been consistent this entire series so far, Draven, Hecarim, and Jayce. This time around, now leaving it open, this is a very easy pickup for Cabo.
Yeah, Cabochard feels so comfortable on this champion, and Vitality love to have him on something that can dominate in the 1v1, but the problem is that has not worked for them so far in this series. Fnatic leaving it open, it almost feels like have Vitality right where they want them.
And the thing that we saw in Game 2 that we liked was getting a top lane pick for Cabo that could impact the team fights more. Now, Jayce with the lead is, of course, a disgusting champion, but in an even game, this guy is not a team fighting threat. He is a solo lane terror, no doubt, but if it comes down to team fights and engages once again, this is going to be even harder for Vitality, while Fnatic have gotten that priority Braum they haven't been able to get their hands on yet.
Now, thinking here, I say maybe they lock into Lucian with the Braum. It's a very strong 2v2 pairing. But the way Fnatic have been playing these games is not by attacking Vitality in the early game, especially with their laners. Instead, they look more towards the scaling option, which is where the lock-in of the Rek'Sai changes this, because Rek'Sai can take over and dominate the early game.
And the reality is that when you see the likes of a Jayce, a Braum is a very safe pickup because he can deny a lot of that damage or help absorb it if there is a group-up factor where Jayce is throwing these Qs into Braum shield.
But now we see the Jinx and the Thresh rounding this out, so a bit more playmaking potential, a bit more roam potential for Jactroll if he does want to leave this lane, as well as another hyper-scaling carry option on the side of Attila.
It's also really safe, long-range wave clear. If Jiizuké also picks up someone who can side lane, we know that that's exactly where Cabochard wants to be. It's so easy for Attila and Jactroll to execute on Jinx Thresh in that mid lane to just absorb all of the farm and stall out for his sides.
Exactly. The Lantern, a very good tool as well to keep the low mobility AD carry in the Jinx safe. But looking at how these first 3 picks have come in, I want to take back a little bit of what I've said about this Jayce, because I don't think it's worked so far for Vitality having the strong top laner in this series. Yet the side of Fnatic doesn't have a lot of hard engage. When you think Braum and you think Rek'Sai, you think decent supplementary CC, but these aren't the champions that are really going to start the fight, and that's why Fnatic work in the Sivir for themselves. But now they need something out of the top lane from Bwipo to get fights going, because their answer so far this series has been Nemesis on Lissandra, but with that banned away, it becomes much harder to force the 5v5s.
And interesting to see as well what the mid lane matchup is going to look like. We now see that the Lissandra cannot be priority picked early. We do see the little Blanc being taken off the board, limiting some of the options Jiizuké can bring to the table. Yamato sitting very close, very cozy, trying to set this up, keeping it casual, keeping the boys, you know, comfortable heading into a very high pressure game 3.
And Yamato's the type of coach that, you know, when push comes to shove, when the pressure is really on his team, he goes to his players and he says, what is the comfort pick? What do you want to play? What do you trust that you can execute on? Because Jactroll previously got so much shade for the likes of his Thresh, but in the high pressure game when it counts, Jactroll, you feel confident to play Thresh? Take it. Jiizuké, what do you need? What power can I help give you?
And that's the question. What is Jiizuké on? What is Mowgli on? Because the mid-jungle 2v2, I think, is actually very pivotal.
We're going to have to hold that thought, because there she is, ladies and gentlemen, the Kayle. We've experienced her in solo queue. Now we get to see her on the LEC stage.
And in between the break, we were wondering, what is the Kayle going to be? Is she going to be in the game? And if a team is going to pick her, it has to be Fnatic. Now, she can go mid lane or top lane. Bwipo and Nemesis have both played here, but on the other side of things, it is such a strong mid-jungle 2v2. That was the question. They answered with Gragas Yasuo.
What do you want to play? I want to play Yasuo, coach. Sign me up.
Oh, man. What do they give to Bwipo now? Looks like Sion going into the top lane.
It's the hard engage that they needed. Fnatic, they needed some way to start off fights, especially in the mid to late game, because they have so much scaling on their side. Sivir plus Kayle is absolutely monstrous in the 5v5 team fights, and if they can get to level 16 for Kayle to 3 items on this Sivir, Fnatic are going to be in a good spot.
Well, that's if they can get there. Like you're saying, they have all of the tools that, hey, Vitality, they've been trying to attack us in the lane phase. Even when they get these incremental advantages, they are unable to snowball, unable to capitalize. We can wait this one out, boys. Worst case scenario, just drive this 3-0 home. Whereas on the other side, Vitality throw it all down. You know, this is when you leave the blood on the court. You've got Cabochard's Jayce, you have Gragas and Yasuo, you have Jinx and Thresh, you have everything that you need to be successful.
But on the opposite side, for Fnatic, if Vitality struggle again, if they misstep, if they make mistakes, Fnatic's team is terrifying in the late game. They need to win. They need to win pretty quickly. Wind Wall is going to be their saving grace, but I don't know if it's going to be enough against the likes of a Sivir and a Kayle as we move later into the game. And for the first time, a true frontliner for Bwipo to make sure that champions like the Yasuo struggle to execute in these team fights.
And you also asked the question, like, Vitality on their side, how do they get Cabochard ahead? How can they win that side lane matchup? Well, they can win early, but eventually Sion is just going to be so tanky, and they've really struggled to deal with Bwipo on the day. Questions have been asked. Now it's time for them to be answered as Fnatic, they look for the 3-0, and Vitality have to stay alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is do or die for Vitality. Win here, move up. A chance to go to Rotterdam. It does indeed start here, and it very well could end here for Vitality. If Fnatic have anything to say about it, on the cusp of a 3-0, on extending their win streak to 11 games, Fnatic dominance could very well be the story of the day.
The crowd can taste it. I assume Fnatic the same, but let's take a moment and let's focus in on Kayle. This is the first time that we've seen her in the LEC. She has been played over in the LPL as well as the LCK, two mixed bags of success. And the key thing that you need to understand with this champion is that she is gated by levels. So much of her power comes with her passive at level 6, level 11, and level 16. You can keep track of it. When she's got a lot of wings, she is absolutely terrifying.
But the key distinction to make is, while in most games it's level 1, 6, 11, 16, when you take Kleptomancy, there's a very low % chance that you can roll the Elixir of Skill. Her passive actually states it's not what level you are, it's how many skill points you have invested. So Nemesis with the Kleptomancy wants to get that Elixir of Skill so he can get his true damage on every auto attack at level 15 or become ranged at level 10, and that's what is so strong about this combo.
You can see the pattern here in the bottom corner of your screen. Of course, the longer Kayle stays in combat, the more attack speed she gets. Level 1, yeah, not too scary. It gets a little scarier at level 6, and by the time you get to level 11, once you are a ranged champion, truly terrifying. Level 16, the final breakpoint is murder.
And
the only way to describe it.
The magic number that you're looking for is 5. She needs 5. Now, a lot of people will take Conqueror on Kayle in solo queue because they like the idea of you stack up the Conqueror when you start stacking up all of those auto attacks, get that attack speed, get that splash damage, get that true damage. But the crit build is what I expect to come out from Nemesis here, because you can actually crit on the true damage splash.
Exactly. Typically what you see the Kayles go for in their build path is very similar to a Corki, where you go for the first item, Trinity Force, just because basically everything on that item she appreciates. It's 20% CDR, which is very important for proccing your E multiple times in fights, but also attack speed, the Sheen proc, valuable as well, and the Phage just keep running and keep people inside of your auto attack range. And then you go into the crit with the rapid fire cannon and the Infinity Edge.
And the other really important thing, and I've seen this happen a lot in solo queue, your ultimate is not there to make you Tryndamere. You cannot, you're locked out of your auto attack when you're in the ultimate. It's to put onto your tank someone like a Sion and let them engage and be invulnerable, and then to start stacking up all of your power.
Well, as we focus on the Kayle, we'll wait till she has a few more levels under her belt to get back on the topic. For now, Jiizuké doing what he can to keep pressure up in this lane. You can see a very heal-centric build coming in from Jiizuké, has both the fleet footwork as well as domination secondary for some additional healing. Mowgli doing what he can to keep this lane pushing forward, and one of the first times we've seen Mowgli not immediately playing around the top side of the map.
Instead, playing to sort of counteract the enemy jungler. Broxah was briefly spotted on a ward placed in the river. You can see the debris right there, and Mowgli instead says, I'm going to come to the bottom side. I know Broxah cleared his whole red side, and maybe look for some pressure on the mid lane, because Nemesis is out of mana and has to play very far back in this lane. Yasuo has the ability to engage on him very quickly, and that can make it difficult, especially when he's running the teleport up against Jiizuké's Ignite.
Jiizuké, of course, getting an early level advantage could be huge. It has the tornado now stacked up, flashing backwards, use the tornado for the double knockup. Now needs to dash through. Jiizuké looking for another creep to get out the wind wall. Not going to be useful. First blood dropping for Broxah.
Yeah, Jiizuké actually did play that well once the engage came in, but bottom lane's going very aggressive, getting heated. Jiizuké had to flash before Broxah pulled off his flash. He was able to do it and bait the summoner out of Broxah, but unfortunately not able to create enough distance to survive.
And now, of course, the Kayle even more terrifying. The longer she gets to spend in this lane, the more experience she can get, the stronger she's going to get faster. Accelerating that timeline is a terrifying prospect, but for now, it's Attila who has to be scared, flashing away from the boomerang blade of Rekkles, and already Vitality's bot lane not off to a great start.
Just playing that one on a knife's edge, very well done from Jactroll to keep Attila alive, but if he didn't flash, that's Rekkles proccing the Winter's Bite and then connecting probably twice with the boomerang blade. He would have deleted Attila.
Yeah, and the Fnatic bottom lane using so many summoners to make that happen and really putting the pressure down on towards Attila. There's only the exhaust up on the side of Hylissang, but Attila can use the TP to just get back into lane and ignore the damage he just took in the trade.
And that's why you see the confidence from Rekkles and Hilly to play that so aggressively, knowing that they have that battle summoner of the heal kind of in the back pocket versus the TP. They can stay more into these extended all-in fights.
Now notice Mowgli picked up the Predator Boots on his first back and actually just popped them very early on while he was in his jungle, potentially looking for a play around the bottom lane. But actually more importantly, this is something we see when you take it a little bit slower out of the jungle, just to get him onto the map faster so he can clear away the camps, and knowing he probably wasn't going to use that anyways with how much pressure his bottom lane was taking.
And now checking in after what was a lot of early game action, seeing about a 500, 600 gold lead for Fnatic here in the early game, taking control across multiple lanes. Now Cabo, someone we talk about almost every time, but this time around going up against a take, it's not quite as interactive as it once was. Jayce will continue to stack up Klepto, will continue to build a gold lead, but it's not going to amount to a whole lot of tower pressure with Sion clearing the wave, and of course, Summoner Spellbook available if he wants to go for a more aggressive play.
I think it's also making sure that he has more access to not just summoner spell options, but having that flash available more often than not, having lower cooldowns on the summoner. Kind of interesting that he didn't go for something like a grasp.
Yeah, not having the grass, can't really proc it relatively easily in that lane.
Not against
Jayce.
My
goodness.
Hook landing multiple points of action on the map. We've got our eyes on Cabochard. Knockup is going to come down, and Bwipo grabbing the kill after being ignored for 2 games. This time he's getting a bit of attention.
But that's what you can do on the Rek'Sai. He loops around, not seen by the control ward that Cabochard had put down. And this top lane pick is so strong in the 1v1, but so susceptible to ganks. And because he used the TP earlier, he's going to miss out on an entire minion wave. This is brutal.
I mean, but the big winner is Mowgli. The fact that this is a level 5 Gragas that now gets pretty much a whole wave to himself in the experience means he's that much closer to level 6, and that's going to be the big unlock point for Jiizuké. So we'll see if Vitality in the long run can do something with this.
Yeah, because the mid-jungle 2v2 is very important on the side of Vitality. That being said, Broxah has already hit level 6 of his own, and just clearing away wards inside of the river can maybe look to pressure on towards this bottom lane that was previously pushing up, or make a play on the red buff. He saw the timer on the respawn and knows that he is so strong in any fights around this buff and inside the jungle.
Ooh, and just a difficult spot right now for the Vitality bot lane as well. Jiizuké now trying to extend the play. Of course, ultimate is up and available for Nemesis, but the tornado is going to miss, and Bwipo is on the way down, ready to make a play if necessary. No ultimate available, though. Does mean he has to back off. Jiizuké still feeling confident, of course, in this lane matchup. Kayle a little bit more terrifying at level 6 if she can get to the max stacks, but hold that thought because Attila has died on the bottom side. Huge confidence play coming from Fnatic bot lane. We're going to need a replay of that one.
Yeah, that was just a straight two-man tower dive right there, and Fnatic had hardly any summoner spells. It was just an exhaust there to lock down Attila, and now with Jactroll having nowhere to go in the bottom lane, he walked mid lane, was maybe looking for a play, but can't make it happen, and Vitality come up with nothing.
Jactroll looking for the hook, is going to find it. This could be huge now, knocking him back. The chain CC has to be perfect if they want to deny the ultimate. Kayle ult comes down, Divine Judgment, knocked back. A beautiful flash from Nemesis to take him to safety.
Yeah, that's the flash that saves his life right there. Good roam from Jactroll. I like the fact that he's got eyes. He's trying to make something happen for Jiizuké, but frankly, because Attila died in this bottom lane 2v1, because Cabochard has also died in his lane, there's just no options for Mowgli and how he wants to attack the map.
Yeah, that was actually really poorly played from Attila. He stayed for the zap right next to a melee minion, which meant that Braum can just leap on forward, and without a flash on the Jinx, there's absolutely nowhere that champion can go. A massive mistake again here from Vitality, who continue to be punished just as an individual member.
And for so long last year, it felt like individual prowess was the story of Vitality, making these big plays, finding these impossible 2v1 outplays. We saw it in Jiizuké's rise, and this year, in this playoff match, the story thus far in all 3 of our games has been individual mechanical mistakes, and it's a shame to see from a team that was for so long at the top of the table.
I mean, it's just devastating to see Vitality continue to crumble like this. Hopefully, with the time that they've spent in the league, you know, maybe you see some more of that maturity coming out of what is a very young squad still, and rally themselves in this final game to put up a fight against Fnatic. Because these first 2 games, you know, some light spots, especially in the early game, have frankly just felt like you're watching Vitality lose the game.
It's been tough because Vitality have constantly played well early on, but then faltered, and now they're not actually finding those proactive plays. They need Mowgli to make this play happen. There's no flash, no ultimate on Nemesis. All it takes is one ultimate, but Mowgli does not have that spell available. And when you look at the Fnatic team and you see all that scaling on the other side, you feel like the clock is always ticking, and you need to force.
Good news, of course, is that Cabochard gets closer and closer to the Black Cleaver. Huge item break point for the Jayce on the top side up against the Sion. Mowgli now stepping over, but is going to walk face first into Broxah. Will get spotted out here, can try to steal a camp away, but Broxah's going to win the Smite War, and for now they're just going to set their sights on tower plating. Bwipo with no mana means that they can push up pretty comfortably on that top side.
No mana on Bwipo, and also Jiizuké with massive priority here, walking in towards this Fnatic jungle. And there's so many control wards actually to set up this movement to buy Cabochard time to chip away at the turret plates. You can see Jiizuké doesn't actually lose anything for this play because no minions were lost. The wave had been pushed very easily by him, and it gives him that opportunity to get a big win for the top side of the map.
Now we check in on the itemization. However, I mentioned Black Cleaver earlier, Bwipo going for the Righteous Glory, but most importantly, the Kayle, a new champion for many of our viewers, for us as well, and competitive. We do see the Blade of the Rune King appears to be the first itemization choice.
That's something we see just for a little bit more survivability in the laning phase. I hold my breath because Nemesis is in trouble.
Knocked back immediately, and the Yasuo going to come out, but now Jiizuké is in the midst of the entire team. Nemesis pulling back. They might look for the re-engage to find more. Already the knockup going down, and the Bwipo, he's trying to lock his target down. Wants to bite. He's going to get the ultimate coming out. Jiizuké can't flash that one. No option to do it. Broxah getting another Fnatic with the turnaround here in the mid lane.
And it's all Broxah. He does so much damage. They're just diving. What?
Oh, no. This is an absolute slaughter. Ultimate going to be used from Attila there, but still the stopwatch is clutch as Hylissang will manage to survive.
And it's Rekkles and Hilly having the confidence to make a play like that. It's Broxah, round 2.
Is he going to go for anything else?
Bye-bye. 3-0-2 on Rek'Sai.
We wanted to see if Vitality could show us signs of life. A new draft, a new side selection. We thought maybe this was going to be it, but Fnatic just gets stronger and stronger over the course of this series. Every single lane is starting to win on its own outside of top lane, and that is disastrous for Vitality.
But it's also showing that Fnatic aren't just here to sit back and to scale. You know, they don't just want to play this one out slowly and say, we'll see you at 20 minutes. It's the fact that if you give them an opportunity, they will attack you in the lane phase. This is Hilly and Rekkles going to the wall right now, diving Attila and Jactroll multiple times. Anytime they get information about where Mowgli is, they are punishing the fact that their jungler isn't there to save Vitality.
Now look at this. Nemesis actually had time for his ultimate to come back up, so he's able to sort of kite back now, and Broxah does so much damage. The Conqueror is fully stacked. He gets a true damage bite on Jiizuké. Remember, you can't flash that guy, so don't even try. And then Mowgli, without any spells, just loses the fight. That is where Conqueror becomes so strong in the extended trades. But bottom lane, I don't even know what to say.
I mean,
Great use of the stopwatch.
Jactroll found the flay, so maybe they're assuming, okay, we're under the tower anyway, we're taking it, we have to go all in, and they've got the stopwatch so you can look for the dive. This is just the cherry on top.
And the thing that a lot of people forget about is just the sheer amount of burst damage that Sivir can have if you tank the full Boomerang Blade, but now, gonna move forward, they're trying to back off, and it looks like at the end of the day, Bwipo may give his life, but they used Rift Herald there in that exchange, and the channel was canceled, so Bwipo's going to go down, but trades his life for that cooldown, can clear the wave with the zombie form of Sion as well, and Vitality cannot be happy with that exchange.
And now it's a race of who's going to get the first tower, but it's Fnatic with a very healthy lead. Rekkles, you can see standing behind the tower, waiting for the minion wave, and it will be Fnatic who strike first.
Fnatic getting everything on the map, up 4.6 thousand gold. Let's just go ahead and make that 5k here as they take the turret. Vitality trying to respond on the top side, but notice they take it so quickly that they're still applying pressure. They dominate this bottom quadrant of the jungle. Bwipo, again, is able to absorb pressure, TP's back top, and now they're just gonna look to dive mid.
Oh, Jiizuké tried to go in, saw Nemesis stepping under tower, but the entire team is now on the way. He's getting the reset on the passive, but it is simply not enough. Broxah now on a rampage. Fans wondered in game 2, why give him the card this again? And it's because if you give him an early game jungler, he is going to make an impact.
Fnatic played the slow and steady game 2 times in a row. Vitality couldn't deal with it. They had to change things up, but that meant giving Broxah the Rek'Sai. Once again, here we go, it's a dive top.
Bwipo so incredibly tanky. Broxah now just going to step forward, walking this kill down, knock back, but Bwipo going to be able to back away in the end. The ulti comes out. Broxah grabs another one. Mowgli is going to be able to grab the shutdown. Hylissang now caught under the tower. Mowgli going to do what he can to delete this wave, but they're stepping forward to grab a bit more. Broxah unstoppable. 3 stacks, looking for the 4th, but we're going to try to step forward, the flash forward to keep it going. They don't really have the damage for this one, but Hylissang just hits him with it anyway.
Calm down, buddy. You're not getting that kill. Vitality actually trying to respond. Notice Jactroll on the flank, but his Moby boots were canceled by the Wolf camp that I think Attila aggro. They're trying to make the play, but the
cast coming out to disengage in the end, though.
It's the wall. Braum is such a good counter in towards the Gragas. You throw up the shield, and then Jactroll gets bait for the dive.
The hook now landing him back, but he's going to give his own life for this exchange. The rocket comes in. Maybe they're going to be able to grab 2 in the end. That's something given back with the TP now coming in. Cabochard here as well. Nemesis level 11. The Kayle is ranged. Jiizuké ready to turn this fight. Bwipo will die in the zombie form in the end, and Cabo may look to extend the play here. Nemesis, Divine Judgment available. He's going to use the ultimate in just a second, trying to get a bit more damage down. Knocked away to stop that from coming through. Vitality desperate to extend this play to get a little bit more here.
The only devastating thing is the fact that it was Mowgli that picked up that double kill right there. This could be a completely different game if it's Jinx that's getting those big kills and is able to snowball herself into the Infinity Edge.
I agree with you 100%, but if there has been a player on Vitality that has consistently been performing well this series, it has been Mowgli. His early games have been good. He's finally on a champion that is dealing damage. I say, yes, it's not ideal, but give him what you have. He now has the Sork Shoes as well as the Runic Echoes. Deal some damage, blow people up with the Gragas Yasuo combo. That's all you've got.
And now we take a look at those turret plates, and this tells you the story of the early game. 11-4, so much gold in the pocket of Fnatic, massive lead, but honestly,
that is just sad.
You know you're going to die for that play, but it's a huge difference maker. Stops a lot of gold going to the pocket, and this is a very fed Rek'Sai.
Yeah, but notice Cabochard actually plays this well. He flashes away from the knockup. He's still going to get caught out here at the end, but it means Broxah has to tank way too much. Shutdown goes on over to Mowgli on top of the double kill he got later on, so he's actually very, very fed at the moment. Just not when you see that Fnatic have taken all the other plates on the other side of the rift.
There's that wolf camp you were talking about. That means that Jactroll can't get there in time. Does manage to get it, but it means that he has to tank the tower aggro, which means that they're able to trade at least 1 for 2.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference maker, because if that fight just happens a little bit over towards the left, you can make it happen, but Fnatic, they've been making it happen all game.
And Nemesis now continuing to push forward. Maybe look for a little bit more damage here. Once 5 stacks get kicked off, the knockup now going to come through. Windwall going to block everything, but Nemesis just walks right past it and finds his kill. Absolutely brutal. And you know, every game it seems like Vitality, maybe they've got an avenue back in, but every game Fnatic are more and more dominant. 16 minutes into the game, an 8K gold lead, backing them up now.
And you know, there was a conversation at the top of the day, who is the strongest team heading into playoffs? You have this monster, you know, G2 and Origin that are sitting in that upper bracket right now, but Fnatic are entering on a massive win streak. They were practically undefeated in the second half of the LEC, only dropping a single game to SK, and now they have this type of form against Vitality. This doesn't look hard for them. This isn't even breaking a sweat. that.
Yeah, it just looks so easy. And the one game they dropped was the first game of the second half. They have since won their last 10 games in a row, including the 2 today, are on pace to win the 11th. And you wonder, this team can play late game, they can play early game. Broxah has looked like an absolute unstoppable force out of the jungle. What can't this team do? How high can they go?
Bwipo, though, now in trouble. Kayle now coming down. Ultimate could just be used on Bwipo to keep him alive, and it will be. Cabochard now going to find himself in trouble. The stacks are going to come in for the Kayle. Once she gets those flame waves, it's going to be so much harder. You can see Mowgli taking so much damage in the exchange, and the On the Hunt has been used. Predator, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Hylissang throws out the ultimate. No trace for Mowgli. If he steps back, he dies. If he steps forward, he gets hit. Now trying to run as Broxah flashes forward, gives the kill to Rekkles, goes under, comes right back up, and Nemesis on a rampage.
Fnatic are just going to keep pushing right here. They have minion waves. Vitality just look completely out of sorts. They try to once again bully Bwipo in the side lane, but Fnatic are having absolutely none of it.
And it was the credit to make sure that when they approached the tower that they grabbed the aggro instead of the minion wave, which I believe only had 2 minions on it, so that they could push through like this. Now they've got the full minion wave very fresh behind them, and it's the difference between not getting a tower and getting an inhib tower on that decision to just say, I've got the aggro, guys.
Look, Fnatic's early game in the second half of the split was so good. Spearheaded by Broxah, they actually had more impressive stats in the early game. In the second half, Hylissang gets on out of there. Jactroll's really trying to catch him.
Yeah, desperately running forward, but there's not a lot of damage here. Nemesis is going to cut through him, but the ultimate now coming in. We'll be able to finish it off with the help of Jinx, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Cabo steps forward, but it's a very strong Kayle. It does get taken down. Nemesis on the edge of death. He's going to manage to live. He's been able to Attila flashes forward. Once the reset takes a lot of damage, though. Out comes the ultimate. Bye to Attila. They still manage to find the turn.
That's just not even fair, guys. Broxah's 7-1-7. Nemesis is 6-1-6. He flashes away from the barrel. These guys are out of control.
And what I was going to say is that Fnatic are doing this series, not breaking a sweat and not really showing anything, but now showing the power of the Kayle. We're going to see if this pick, if they decide to end it now, if they continue to rampage through playoffs, because this is 4 best-of-5s for Fnatic before they can go to the finals and possibly go to MSI. They've shown that, hey, Kayle probably need to watch out for it.
By the way, this Kayle, at 19 minutes, has 3 completed items, including a Ginsu's, which is not cheap. And you can see in this play, once again, it's like Hylissang walking in because they know just how strong Nemesis is, and Jactroll says, okay, with the rocket, we can get the kill. But just keep your eyes on Nemesis. What can this man do? He immediately explodes him right there, takes the damage, but not even, and then gets knocked back and flash the barrel. Boom. Made it look easy. Has to make Attila use his flash. That means Broxah can land 1 Q, 1 R, and then he's dead.
Yeah, and the shutdown, of course, good for the Jinx to have. But once again, this does just feel like the eulogy for Vitality's playoff run, as it is still a 10K gold lead. We're not even 20 minutes into the game, and a constant reminder why Fnatic have to be respected. Because let's be honest, start of the split, once again, things looked rough for this team. But historically, you can never count them out. You can see why. 7 titles, Worlds finalists last year, MSI semifinalists. You can see exactly what this team has done in their history.
And you can't script an anime better than this. The one thing we're missing now is like the Vitality comeback to make it at least a close game. Make them work for it.
Jiizuké now going to try to find something with Attila. They're going to interrupt the knock up there. That's going to be huge, but Attila's still going to get ulted out by Broxah. Broxah's going to look for the true damage. It's going to be a huge bite here. Doesn't even need it. Just uses the Queen's Fury. Jiizuké now on the retreat does get the knock up. Nemesis just cutting through the team. Fnatic playing the team fights front to back, and it's too easy because Broxah can 1v1 anyone on the map right now. He's hunting for Mowgli. 2-level advantage. He chooses to back off in the end, respecting the AP of the Gragas. But gonna wait. Just lurking under the ground, trying to find his prey.
Pack it up, boys. Right now, Nemesis and Broxah are both simultaneously trying to 1v5. It's 20 minutes in. The Baron is gone.
Oh, Hilly!
Jactroll's in trouble.
Nosy standing right next to the blast cone.
No!
Another sacrifice, a TP used onto the top side.
Mowgli died too.
The victory lap for Fnatic has been the story of Game 3. Domination from the start of the game. Broxah has been absolutely everywhere, and every single member of this team has an incredible scoreline.
I think the biggest problem Fnatic are facing right now is who actually gets MVP. That's it.
And you don't want to count a team out in a best-of-5, but when you can do that,
really?
It just feels over.
And oh my, look, he's literally on the Nexus 1v3. He does not care.
Hook comes in, he's just going to keep it going. Does he get the chance to use the ultimate as well? He does, that's the double kill, wants a few more. They're walking right into the fountain, they just keep feeding him. That's the Quadra. Is he going to get the Penta? I cannot believe it.
Penta kill for Nemesis. The series is over.
And a reminder to all of Europe, Fnatic did not come into this split to compete. They came to dominate.
Well, Drakos, I think Nemesis answered my question. MVP goes to him.
Remember the name. It's no longer Fnatic Caps. Nemesis got thrown a lot of shade from the community early on. And yes, he gets the pentakill, so it looks really nice, but he was clean this entire series through. He has completely been one of the fundamental pieces that turned this around for Fnatic. His synergy with Broxah, his zone control for Rekkles. This guy is a monster for playoffs.
I am just blown away at how clean this team looks. They completely turned things around. Every single player for Fnatic is just stepping up to the challenge. They make Vitality look like easy competition. They go 3-0 against them in very quick form, and now are looking to run all the way to Rotterdam.
Hilly flashed over the wall to hit the blast cone to knock Jactroll into his team.
Supports for the win, baby.
But that's the confidence. That's the level that the Fnatic are just playing with their food.
And that was an issue. When you think back about the Fnatic bot lane for a long time, you know, you didn't have that level of trust for Hylissang when he was willing to step forward and make these plays, but you see it in this game. Bwipo mentioned trust already, and it just seems like if someone on Fnatic goes in, everyone else is ready to follow up.
And it's the thing that if we do focus down on Rekkles and Hilly, this bot lane has always been very well respected in Europe, but not necessarily always for their laning prowess. We always knew that Rekkles was a god-tier team fighting ADC, but now it's that full-on aggression. And yes, it is Attila, probably one of the weaker ADCs coming into this playoff race when you have the likes of Perks and Patrick also waiting up into the wings, Kabe also in Splice tomorrow, but you know, at this point, Rekkles is like, I'm still the king. You still must respect me.
Yeah, Rekkles has been redefining how he plays, because prior it was the 3-item teamfight monster that gets a lot of pentakills. This split, it's been so much about the Lucian pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him. Even here on the Sivir, they are just diving towers 2v2. That was not Broxah impacting bottom lane. It was just those two players popping off.
And that's the thing that we talked about at the start of the series that we felt like gave Fnatic such a huge edge, is that flexibility, because we saw Bwipo carry for a few weeks. We've seen Rekkles carry. Now we're seeing Nemesis carry on picks like this Kayle, and that's what's going to make this team so threatening in best of 5, because it's not best of 1 anymore. One strategy is probably not enough if there's anything that we've learned from Vitality's struggle today, but on the opposite side for Vitality, just a crushing way to end the season that started, honestly, pretty well for them.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for Vitality because they did look so good early on. They really did, you know, find their stride early on in the split, but I think as it came down, push comes to shove, they really fell down. They looked like our second place team locked in, but they kept trying to play the style where it wasn't about the team fights. It was about the side lanes. While yes, the early games had been good, you can see up against a team like Fnatic and all these other teams rising, knowing how to play the team fights, Vitality just could not contest them.
And the question for me is kind of the ticking clock on Vitality and how quickly they can start to sync with Mowgli. Because Mowgli is very impressive with very high highs, but also really low lows. And it feels like a disconnect or a desync. The amount of time where he's not jungling, or he's actually just sitting in Cabochard's back pocket trying to force a gank, but no gank happens. You know, it's cleaning up this relationship for Vitality to really come alive, and that needs to start in summer for this project to be successful and go to Worlds again.
Absolutely does, but sadly now we have to say goodbye to Vitality in the playoffs run. But the good news for Fnatic and Fnatic fans is that the way that Fnatic ended it today was spectacular. So in our Alienware big play, let's take a look back at this Kayle pentakill.
Oh man, see, it was funny too, because Nemesis just rolls straight on up here. He does not care. That's, what, 4 auto attacks? Probably more than he needed to there. Finishes off Jiizuké as well, or zones him away, and then can walk right on in and just literally right-clicking. He's doing basically nothing, but he's so strong at this point in the game. The E execute damage, also able to finish off the Jayce, and the rest of the team, Bwipo leading the charge, making it happen.
And it felt like Nemesis, the rest of Fnatic walked away from him and were taking the objective, and Nemesis is like, now we can end this right now.
Yeah, Nemesis literally just 1v5 that fight.
And I'm going to be honest, Kayle did not look that bad early game. Like, this champion looked like, admittedly, a lot of favorable klepto procs, and yes, early game to go in favor, but when it came to early lane phase, Broxah puts a little bit of attention there, and suddenly Jiizuké can't really play aggressive as this melee champion.
Yeah, so I think we can agree Kayle is definitely strong. This snowballed way out of control, and it came down to Broxah, because of Broxah that found the counter ganks around the mid lane that were able to sort of bridge the gap between level 1 and level 11 for Kayle, because Kayle wasn't getting a ton of kills until the range came through, and then she looked unstoppable.
Absolutely. And impressive that they were able to play that early game so well. Of course, as a reminder, in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined by Rekkles in the post-game lobby. So if you want to hear his thoughts on the series and Hylissang as well. So insight into what was a hyper-aggressive bot lane there on that third game and third game alone. But Bwipo, Broxah, and Rekkles are going to be your options for key player of the series. You can head over to @LEC Sports on Twitter and
It's
vote.
serious. It's serious. Calm down. It's serious.
They're missing Nemesis.
You can't put all 5.
It's actually you can't put all 5.
It's okay.
No, but they're
Don't flame the vote. Okay, guys, I personally, no bias, give it to Bwipo. Because if there's one man who should have died like 20 more times than he did, might have been Bwipo. but also potentially Broxah. And why would I say that? Because he's standing by for an interview with Laure, and I don't want him to be mad at me. Hi, Broxah.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you, Broxah, for joining me. Congratulations on making it further. So now I want to know, because when I talked to Bwipo last week or 2 weeks ago, he told me that you wanted to face Vitality no matter what. So, okay, smart move, obviously, but why?
Well, I think it showed today that we match up pretty well against Vitality. Their main strategy throughout the split and even last year has always been playing for top lane, just trying to snowball through top, and we were pretty confident that Bwipo would be able to dodge most of the ganks and most of the potential dives coming at him. And at the same time, just individually, I think we match up pretty well against them. And yeah, our control-based style just matches up really well against the top-centered, spam ganking top style. I think we showed why we picked them today.
I agree with you, but it makes me wonder is it Vitality underperforming lately, or do you think that teams are catching up on them?
I feel like it's hard to say. I think in the past weeks in the LEC, there's been so many weird things happening and everything has been shaking up, and Vitality definitely has been one of the teams looking a bit weaker. But at the same time, it's hard to say if they would look as weak if they were playing on one of the other playoff teams, right? I just think we match up so well against them, and we had a really good game plan coming into today, so it was hard for them to, grab the leads they needed to win the games.
Yeah, it came flawless from you today, even though they did their homework, especially with the level 1 strat. They were expecting it. Do you feel like it's a strategy overused from you guys?
I think generally it's kind of funny how people always expect us to cheese level 1, and I heard so many interviews coming into the day where people said that Fnatic has to cheese level 1 to win, and if they don't late invade or cheese level 1, then they are not a pretty weak team. And today we showed that even if we play completely normally, if we just play a slow, a normal game, then we are just as strong as we are when we make level 1 plans, right? So I think the whole meme of Fnatic having to cheese to win games is kind of overused, and we are definitely scary regardless if we cheese or not.
All right, so outside of the memes, what did you guys prepare against them coming in today?
Sorry, what?
What did you guys prepare against Vitality coming today?
Well, I guess one of the main things was looking at how to survive the top lane focus. How do we make sure that we put Bwipo in a position to avoid dying to all these ganks, and especially with a draft like the first one where they played Lucian, Talia, Jarvan, it was pretty scary for us. How we knew that we had to try to find a way to keep Bwipo alive in order for the Lucian not to snowball out of control. But generally, we had pretty good communication on when they could make a play top. Bwipo was really aware of this. Sometimes he dropped a few waves to make sure he didn't die, and we just played really well around it because we knew what was coming.
It makes me sad in a way, because when I did my preparation this week, I was expecting to see an Urgot in the jungle. Everybody was expecting so, and we didn't see any, even in the banning phase. So how do you explain that?
I think Urgot jungle is definitely a thing right now. Whether it's going to be played or not, not going to comment too much on that. I guess time will tell, but it's definitely something to look out for.
All right, so moving forward, you will face whoever wins tomorrow. It's going to be either Splice or SK Gaming. Who do you think will take it?
I think it's pretty hard to say, honestly. Splice and SK match up pretty closely against each other, in my opinion. But I would give a small edge to Splice. Like, I would probably predict Splice 3-1 or 3-2.
All right, interesting insight. We'll see about this tomorrow. Thank you, Broxah, for joining me. We still have many things to say about this series, so let's send it over to Shox for PGL.
If you have a good answer, and if you don't,
Welcome everyone to the LEC post-game lobby after the first day of the playoffs. It was a swift one. My name is Shox. I'm here with the Fisho, Rekkles, and Hylissang at Fisho's been here all day. You guys just joined. Congratulations. We, of course, already heard from Broxah. Maybe Hyli, you first. Why do you think it was such a quick 3-0 for you guys today?
I think we just know how to not lose against them, and this is giving us advantage. And we knew their weaknesses, and we knew how to basically how they win the games. So that basically gave us like huge advantage to the game, and we knew how to abuse their weaknesses as well. So I know, I think we're just good match against Vitality, and it showed.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot also from the analysts, like it's just a good matchup, but you know, you also played well yourselves, right, Rekkles? Or do you think you didn't have to put in 100% today?
I think they made a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, we're not really making any of our own, so I guess you could say that we're playing well. It's just, as Hyli said, you know, it's kind of easy for us because we know how they want to win the game, so we can just like make a plan around that. And in this case, it was through top lane, so we just made sure Bwipo was at least in an okay state, and then we knew that eventually, you know, we would take over from the bot lane. So in the first game, they kind of gave it to us with the play that you actually see on screen right now. But even then, you know, if this game goes on for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to get my items, and then we just win, right? Yeah. Same thing kind of happens for the second game, where we outscale once again. And then the third game, we have more of an equal scaling, I would say, with the Sivir versus Jinx, but in that case, we killed them 2v2 twice.
Really, do you ever think you were like playing 2v2, or do you feel when you're playing this game with your team behind you that it's just like, no, it doesn't matter, because even if we mess up here, we know we're gonna have the big plan and win the game?
I mean, it depends. Like all these games, it felt like in the beginning it wasn't 2v2. Like we always got some enemy jungle advantage. Like enemy was like kind of pressuring, even though he was not showing. We respected a lot, so it didn't feel like in the beginning, in the first 3 levels, that we had 2v2. It always felt like we're getting ganked. And then after like level 4 and 5, it felt like we're playing 3v2 because we had the jungle on our side and they had the jungle on top side. So I think it didn't really feel like a 2v2 matchup.
Yeah.
But once it was 2v2, I feel like even in a losing matchup, we could win it. So I think it was very good.
Yeah, the difference just looked very big today, didn't it?
Yeah, I really like that Fnatic didn't really have to show anything new. You know, they had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and they came in playing effectively the same style that we have seen in the last couple of weeks, like the Splice game you guys win, that gives us where you guys log in 3rd place. Kind of the same, you know, get a couple of kills on bottom side, Nemesis roams down, Broxah plays towards the lane, and the same thing happened here. I think Vitality, sadly for them, not the strongest late game team, so that was never going to be a way to win. And not really good at playing around the bottom side without overextending or maybe going aggressive at the wrong times. No TP top side, 4 members are just shown from Fnatic, or whatever it is. It gives a couple of easy kills over to Rekkles every time, and then it's uphill.
Yeah, it was. Also some specifics. Bwipo got camped really hard in that like first game and second game. Can you tell us about maybe the comms at that point? Because 2 times he just turns it around. He even kills them in the first game and completely negates all the pressure they put on him. Was he being his usual self?
I mean, I thought he was fully aware that this was going to happen. So
yeah.
He was like mentally prepared for the moment that it were happening. But at the same time, we were kind of surprised, you know, to see him like come out ahead. In the first game with, I think it was GP, and then in the last game here where he cancelled Herald, and I think he almost got out as well on the Sion. So, I mean, maybe not every top laner can do this, where they just like tank the pressure so much, but we knew Bwipo could, so we were kind of confident or comfortable with our plan of him just, you know, doing his thing up there and the rest of us trying to snowball as much as possible.
Yeah, it feels like it goes back to, you know, Vitality is going to do this, so you're just prepping for it.
Yeah, I think he got surprised by one gank only once in the whole series, which was like, he got ganked on the 4th wave or 5th wave. Then he knew it was coming. Then on the 6th wave, he got ganked again. He knew it was coming. Then he thought enemy jungle backed off, and he did Herald, meanwhile. Took Herald, and then he got ganked on the 8th wave again. And then he was like shocked. He was like, oh my god, he's still top lane, and he just died. And it was kind of... He said, it's my bad, you know, I should have expected that. But it was really shocking that he spent like 3 minutes top lane, and he fell behind so much on levels and stuff.
But it's actually great to see, because I feel like last year, there was only one playstyle from Bwipo top lane, which was very much aggressive, try and win lane very hard.
Or tank, yeah.
Or he could be stuck on the tank, obviously. Even then, he would probably try and win his lane if he could. And now I think he talked about this as well on Euphoria, about like trusting that someone else on the map can actually be the win condition, so you don't have to be the one to do it. Like, he could have gone for a million fights top. He could have called Broxah up there multiple times, said, we can 2v2 these guys or whatever, but he didn't have to.
I had Cartisel.
He did have cast assault. It was very useful, obviously, but it's good to see kind of that evolution and the growth from him.
I agree. As we're going down the line, we talked about 3 members already. Broxah is the key up player of the game with 59% of the votes. It was Bwipo, Rekkles, or Broxah, and it doesn't happen often that you get beat, Rekkles, because the fandom is just so strong. So it must mean that Broxah played really well. Can you guys confirm this?
Yeah, I think I mean, the Katos games, you know, like, he did his job, you know. It doesn't look impressive, but he got levels ahead, and he was doing a lot of damage in team fights. And the last game, Rek'Sai, he got a lot of levels advantage, and he was killing people, so I understand why he got the MVP.
Yeah, me too. Do you think in the last weeks he's just become more of his old self together with all of you?
I think he was always good. It's just when you're losing games, it's easy to pinpoint
the jungler
mistakes of each player. Meanwhile, we might still have them right now. It's just we're winning, so no one kind of tries to pinpoint anything. Everyone's just cheering and being happy, right? So
yeah, enjoy.
I don't think any of us were like extremely boosted or anything in the beginning of the season, and now are gods. I think we're still the same players with the same strengths and weaknesses, but we're just winning now, so people don't, flame us.
Yeah, but something must have changed. I mean, it's not what you guys said in the beginning. We didn't change.
I mean, I think we just got good as a team. I don't think anyone got like specifically good as a player. I mean, we were always good individually, so for me it was just a matter of time until we figured out how we play together, and once we did that, we started winning games.
Yeah.
So.
And now you're scary, and you have to go up maybe versus OG in the future. Of course, not in the next round, but what do you think, Vishu?
You have to respect Fnatic. I don't think you need to be too scared of Fnatic just yet. I'm not saying that they're going to be easy by any means, and you should 100% respect them as a team, but I don't know. I'm very interested in seeing how they're going to play against either Splyce or SK in the next series. And then when they face G2 on the Saturday as well in Rotterdam, that's going to be an interesting matchup. So there's a lot of games we can scout before we get to play them.
Well, now that you mentioned it, let's take a look at the bracket, which is a bit more filled out. Fnatic, of course, advance to round 2, and then they'll face off against Splyce or SK Gaming with the new system. And of course, then in round 2 next week, we'll also see G2 versus OG. So yeah, things are definitely hyping up in that regard. When you look at this now, you guys, I know your aspirations are to lift the trophy, of course, but how difficult do you think it's going to be?
You have anything good to say?
I don't know. I actually, even against Vitality, I respect like kinda every team in the same level, except maybe G2 with Mikex a bit above rest. But even like Vitality is very difficult opponent if you don't know how to beat them. So I think SK, Splyce, OG, I think they're all the same and they're equally scary for me at least.
Yeah.
And I respect all of them, and we can lose against them and we can trio them. So it's just matter of preparation, I think.
So it's G2 that is the biggest hurdle,
yes,
which I think is logical. Yeah, the official.
Can I ask a little bit differently? I feel that the top teams are better this split than, let's say, last split, where you guys ended up facing Schalke. But obviously, you guys played against all these different teams. Do you guys also feel that the teams now are slightly better, so it's a harder road towards the final, or is it exactly the same as last split?
Maybe there's 3 good teams now instead of 2. But even last year, misses are okay, We were just really good. But they were okay in their semifinals against us. So I don't think it's too much of a difference. It's just like Hylissang said, we need to prepare well. And if we don't, we are potentially going to lose against some of these teams, maybe all of these teams. Even today, I think if we didn't come in with the plan that we had, then maybe we could have lost today. So
yeah, but you came in with the plan, which is the TLDR. So do you think is there one team that's harder to prepare for than anyone else? Because when I look at it, I think, Splyce, they have a pretty set style. SK, you also know what you're going to get. Selfmade's going to pop off. I'm not so sure about G2 and OG necessarily, because I think throughout the split, they've shown very different things at times. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I think, as I said, OG is not very scary team. They have set play style and you know what to expect. But speaking of G2, they're the scary team if they play with Mikex and he's on his top form, and they can play around every lane, and you need to shut down Cap so he will pop off, and that's kind of scary and hard to prepare. And yeah, that's my point, because I just think that every team except G2 has a certain playstyle, and you can prep for it, but not for G2.
Yeah. Do you guys think you guys have a very identifiable and beatable playstyle?
Decently, I would say. I mean, everyone can carry. I think that was the biggest issue today for Vitality, that they only had Cabo as like the potential carry, and if he weren't going to do it, then no one was going to do it. So I think the scariest teams to go up against are teams that have multiple members who can carry, or have the enemy jungle who can carry. Because, for example, today when we play against Vitality, right, we know that Cabo is going to be the threat, so he's on top lane, so we just need to care of this portion of the map, right? But when you play against a team like SK, even though you know that Selfmade is going to play really well, you don't know where he's going to play really well, because he can be everywhere. He's a jungler. Same goes for teams that have multiple members who can pop up. You don't really know where the threat is going to be. So,
is that different from last year? Is there more possibilities for teams?
I guess that's kind of what you wanted to get at before. So potentially I would say yes to that, because when we were playing Schalke, for example, in the finals last year, we felt like if they weren't going to do it for bot lane, then it was probably not going to happen. Like Vishishachi is not a player who carries, you know, and even Nuktak last year wasn't necessarily the carry either. He was more of an enabler, I would say, towards upset. So maybe this year there are more teams with more carries, but I don't think like the strength of the teams have been like broadened. I don't think there's like more teams now that are scarier. I think it's just different ways of being scary.
I see. Want to add something?
I think we have more teams with better overall rosters, not necessarily like an individual player being a lot better than he was last split, but I think, you know, you bring up Schalke as an example from last split, where they had Chachi obviously mainly just playing tanks, and then Amazing, who also really wanted to stick to tank junglers, which made it hard for them to be very unpredictable in the way they would draft. I think the big surprise they had was the Skarner. And the moment that was shown in the final, it was kind of like, okay, now you know everything they're going to do. If I look at G2, Fnatic, and Origin now, I feel like there is better players overall across all five. If you put all five together in the skill level and you combine that, which means there are more ways you can win games. Obviously, our play style so far, if you look at how we've been winning a lot of games, it's not necessarily every lane just hard winning and all the turrets just dying at like 10 minutes. But I think we have seen Patrick carry games, we've seen Nukdog carry games, and we've seen Alfari carry games. And Cole, of course, have been able to show up in the early game. So I'm not saying we are like a team where you have to suddenly be super scared that every single player will just destroy you. But I think all our guys have shown they can actually carry games.
Yeah, and we'll see, of course, a lot of teams we haven't seen, or any teams except for you guys, we've seen in the best of fives in the split. So we'll take a look. Also, remember that you can still get your tickets for the main event in Rotterdam on the 13th and 14th of April, eu.lolesports.com/Rotterdam. Remember, Saturday, semifinal, Sunday, final, and you'll see G2 and OG for sure, and perhaps Fnatic or Splice or SK. So we'll see, of course. Now, tomorrow, we're also going to find out who Fnatic is going to play in round 2. Splice and SK are going to close out round 1 of the Spring Playoffs. Let's take a look.
Our first game in LEC was versus Fnatic. We were like really hyped and kind of stressed because they're basically world finalists, right? And after we won twice versus them, right? We thought that we were actually good. And the next game, we faced Misfits, we got complete obliterated.
Here comes the engage, there's the Galio, brings down the hammer, and with the might of Thor, Misfits just wipe SK off the map.
We understood that either we go playoffs or we go home.
Now we're on a bigger stage against bigger players, so the stakes are obviously higher. There's way more people watching, way more people talking about us.
I think they are overambitious. I don't really see them as a team that could play for winning the split. Selfmade is basically the only player who's playing really well. He's just overshadowing the others.
When you say Splice, I don't know what pops up into your mind, right? It's like, okay, they're a team.
People just don't like Splice. They're so boring, they don't do anything. But we're never bad, we're always really close to actually making it. What keeps me going is my own skill, that I know that in the right situation I'm able to win everything. Because of the narrative that, oh, I'm always so underrated, I don't think I ever got the opportunities that I feel like I deserve.
Everybody's like, yeah, he's really underrated, so if everybody says you're underrated, I don't think you're underrated anymore. People are realizing he's good. Yeah, I'm just excited to play against Kobe since I think he's one of the best in EU right now.
Chachi's on the break, the only man who's been on this team the whole time, it's Kobe! and it's a party for Splyce!
Even now, I think we're a good team in Splyce, but at the same time, I see like 4 other really good teams, so I know it's really hard, but I always have the mindset that it's doable.
We can compete and we can actually win the split.
I think we're gonna do well in playoffs.
We are proving ourselves as a team.
For this playoffs, you need to win 4 series in a row. Let's say we beat SK, it's nice, but I just see it as the first step. You just gotta take like 1 opponent at a time.
For sure, every single round in playoffs, we are looking to win them and then make it to finals and win finals.
There we go then. Kabi saying, yes, there's 4 other good teams. You can make of that what you will. Maybe he doesn't think too highly of SK Gaming, but that's who they're playing, and I think SK's run has been very impressive. Same can be said for Splyce. I mean, they were the most exciting Splyce, I think, for me, I've seen in a long time. They had some really strong games in the second half of the split. What are your general thoughts about that game tomorrow, or that match tomorrow, Rekkles?
Well, I think there was a reason why we chose Vitality over SK, so I wouldn't take it like as a free run or anything for Splyce, but I think both teams have like really strong parts and really weak parts, so you might see, you know, a test of whichever playstyle is better. You mean Selfmade versus Kabi? Yeah, basically whatever you have on your screen. But otherwise, I mean, personally, I'm not too worried, you know, if we, as I said last week or 2 weeks ago when I was here, that if we had the choice of picking Splyce, we would have picked Splyce over Vitality. So if you were to see them go through, you know, we're obviously happy. And even if we were to see SK go through, I'm pretty sure we're better now than the Fnatic you saw going 0-3 against them. So Selfmade did tweet during the game, we went 5-0 versus those teams, implying that you guys were clowning around a bit, I don't know, on the Rift, but he does have the upper hand there. Hilly, what do you think about tomorrow? Is it a clean sweep for either side? Is it a close one?
No, I think it will be a very close game. I think Splyce will take it, just because I think they're a better team than SK in like against each other. If they play, I feel like Splyce has better match, and yeah, I think Kobe will carry the games.
Probably a high chance that's going to happen. I think SK has won games 2 ways. Either Selfmade obviously kind of goes crazy and snowballs some sort of advantage, or they've gotten to late game with Crown Shot at something like a Jinx, and they've been able, I think that's also how they beat you guys in one of the games, if I'm not completely wrong. At least that's how they started picking up some wins with him. Kobe will obviously do that better. So again, all eyes goes to Selfmade. And trying to get the early advantage on his side.
That's a lot of pressure on him.
It is a lot of pressure, and I think Cersei, on the other side, he's played now in a lot of different playoff games. Like, he's been here before, and if he's able to contain Selfmade at all, or if the laners are able to respect the chance that he could actually kind of unpredictably show up, it is hard, but if they manage to do that and not fall behind early, they should just be better late game. But I'm interested to see what plan SK comes in with, because I think there is kind of this chance of early game, but there's also a chance of crown shot late, but
we'll see.
I'm not sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we look at this and we're like in the back of our minds already thinking about Fnatic, OG, G2. That's also the teams we talked about in the beginning. Vitality is now out. Do any of these teams have the potential to surprise enough to get all the way to the final?
No, I don't think so.
Is that yeah, that's realistic then. Why not?
I think they can. I don't know who of them. I think both team can surprise. I think Splyce can surprise and SK can surprise. But just make it to the finals. I don't think they can win it all. I don't think they're that good of a team, but I'm sure they can win. Like as I said, they can win against us as well if you're not prepared on the day, and if they just play crazy and coin flip the game, of course they can win. But yeah, I don't think they can win all of it. So
Rekkles, that was a resounding no. Why do these teams not have what it takes?
Because then we have to lose, and I don't want to
okay, I think that's fair. That's fair.
I think Fnatic being the gatekeepers there actually kind of messes it up for them. It's not like they both get a chance to play against one of the top 3 teams. And with the games today, we got to see the same Fnatic we saw during the end of the regular season. There wasn't suddenly a lot of shakiness or whatever, and we started questioning everything, which makes it really difficult because to me, Fnatic, they don't rely on a super special playstyle. They don't rely on cheese or anything. They actually play this very simple, very standard. And that makes it really difficult for teams to upset them in best of 5s.
Yeah, I agree. I also think stop calling like that level 1 cheese. Like any strategy you come into a game with is a viable strategy. And you didn't even seem to need it. It worked.
No, we don't need it.
No.
It just caps the things that we do.
Oh, okay. So Caps, you heard it. And so now you're going to have like even more level 1s.
I mean,
maybe
Maybe.
Maybe. Mind games. Anyway, after regular season, of course, all the teams, the coaches, the broadcast partners, the teams, our third-party media, we all voted for our favorites in the all-pro team and everything else, but we're going to take a look. Bittersweet for Cabochard in the very first all-pro team, of course. No Fnatic members, where any other year, you guys kind of hogged all the places in like MVP, not rookie, of course, but most of the all-pro teams as well. Were you guys surprised that you weren't as visible in the 3 all-pro teams this year, Hilly? Or this spring?
I wouldn't say. Maybe Rekkles that he's not on the first team. I was a bit surprised that Kobe is over him. So
I was going to say you.
Yeah, I mean...
I think Hilly should be there at least.
No, but everyone thinks Mickey X is better, so I don't mind it, you know. I think he's pretty good. I think he's like top 1 or top 2 supports.
Rekkles thinks you're underrated, apparently.
I mean, I've thought Hilly is underrated for what now, 4 years?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm underrated too, but I don't really care too much about it. I care when I'm really carrying alone and there's like not much said about me, then it a bit hurts, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that things got changed a bit, so that's good for me.
Yeah, we love talking about you. Do you think that your history is haunting you? That whole like, oh, Hilly and Unicorns of Love flashing in and dying, whatever, like all that stuff? Because sometimes you do that, but I don't think you can be faulted for your performance at all.
I actually think that support to have this type of view is very important to like make plays and sometimes like int it. I think it's important because like, for example, even in Vitality game, I was like inting with Alistar, but they used so much spells on me that I survived with 1 HP and my team just walked in and killed them all. So I think if you know how to play on the edge without making too obvious that you are like inting it, it can be very useful and good ability for supports and not hesitate, because many in Europe supports are hesitating and they miss a lot of opportunities, which I don't really miss, and I just go in and I trust my team that will back me up and they trust me that I will not fuck it up. So
yeah, it was great. I remember one instance where you went in and you, I think you got Attila and you like delivered him to Rekkles on a silver plate in the topside jungle of Vitality game 1 or game 2. So that happens more than you inted.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I agree.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the guys on the screen. Yeah, unfortunate for Cabochard. I mean, there wasn't a lot for him to do today, right? Or
I mean, they did play around him. He did gain some advantages top, but obviously
wasn't enough.
Kind of fell apart elsewhere. Or in game 1, you know, he did manage to snowball it when he got baited with the stopwatch and he ends up dying as well. I think overall top lane was probably a competition between Wunder and him.
Yeah.
If I had to say pure individual skill, I'd probably take Wunder. But I think the impact Cabochard had for his team was obviously insane. And he's the main reason they got to this point here to face Fnatic in playoffs. So I think it is deserved that he gets on.
Did you guys vote for all these guys? Or?
Good question.
You guys remember?
I think so. I think we voted for every single player.
No, I didn't vote for Kobe.
Really?
I had upset over Perks over Hans, I think, or upset over Hans over Perks.
Why no Kobe? Because everyone seems to be on the Kobe hype train nowadays.
I think I voted for the same.
I mean, we played him twice, right? The split, and both times I was like 9-0 and he couldn't lane. So it's hard to like, from my point of view, give him that sort of respect that everyone else is giving him. But I can see why he gets it, because he had a lot of games where he was popping off later on.
Data-driven.
I just can't buy into it myself, because when we play against them, it's usually me coming out ahead. And when I play against other AD carries, I feel like they push me more to my limit, right? He kind of just lets me do whatever. And maybe he feels the same versus me, where I let him do whatever. But usually when I am allowed to do whatever I want, we get a victory screen.
Yeah, and you don't get to the late game with Splice. You guys didn't, right? So you don't let them. Yeah, Deficio, high-level thoughts? No OG player. Our apologies.
Sad. I mean, Caps getting in, not a big surprise. I think Mickey getting in, not a big surprise. I know Patrick voted for Kobe as number 1 on his side.
You know why?
I just walked in and I said, Patrick, who are you voting for? Boom, boom, boom. Who are you voting for? So I'm not sure.
Is that your job actually at OG? You just do those things?
Yeah, actually, I only work 1 day every split, and that is when we have to get the votes. I put my name on it, so I felt important, but it was actually all the players voting.
Yeah.
I think for jungle, I don't remember if Cole put Jankos, but obviously Jankos the first many games of the split, had great performances.
With that Karthus, it's really difficult. You can't also, like, it is the way it is, right?
It's true, it's true. Second half, obviously, when Jiizuké did start playing a bit differently, he had some bad games, but I think overall people looked a lot at the start there and put him in. But I think there were a lot of junglers you could debate.
Are doing well.
You know, Selfmade was one. I actually did see a lot of people mention, you know, Xerxes Cold, Broxah here in the second half as well.
Difficult.
Has been fantastic. So I like the jungle pool. I think there's a lot of good options, and I don't think you're completely wrong.
What's the smallest pool?
Mid, probably, for who you could actually put first.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. But I was a bit surprised to not see Tim at least top 3. I think he was good the entire split, even when we were not doing well. Nemesis.
Nemesis, yeah. Oh, I've never
He's
heard.
the only one I call for his real name.
Yeah.
We actually had a discussion when he came into the team in the beginning of journey of what to call him. And what options do we have? I don't even want to say all of them, I think.
I mean, you wanted to call him Nemi.
Yeah, Nemi. I don't know where that came from.
Because you refused to call him Tim or something?
Yeah, it's just I never call anyone by their real name. It's just like been a habit over the
We
years.
only call people by their real name.
Oh, but you're both Martins, so that would be weird.
I mean, I have like Hyli for... I don't say Hylissang, right? I say Hyli.
But Hyli, I think, has a very difficult name to pronounce, so I get that.
Hyli is also super cool.
Yeah,
like,
Hyli sounds really nice, yeah.
It's just never occurred to me to name someone by their actual name. But then when he came into the team, I was calling him Nemesis and just felt like
too long.
It wasn't working out, right? So we were playing around a little bit.
We all do first names also because, you know, if you're out at a team activity, players get lost and you have to start, Nuke Dog, is there a Nuke Dog somewhere? You know, like everyone else looks at you and they're like, what's wrong with this person?
That's why Patrick changed his name.
There you go. Patrick is easy now on that side. But again, for mid lane, I think it's like Nuke Dog or Caps.
Yeah.
That's basically who you can put first.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, I think that's all fair. I like that discussion actually about the first names. Okay, quick question then, question round. Your MVP and your rookie, who would it be?
I think we put Caps and rookie Selfmade.
Yeah, was it difficult for MVP?
There was some discussion about it. I think there were a few different names being thrown around. Rookie was super easy. It was just like, yeah, Selfmade.
Yeah.
But I think Rekkles is probably going to mention Tim now, or Nemi, or Nemesis, depending on what we want to call him, as a potential option as well. But I think I'm not sure if, like, Rookie has not been announced yet, right?
No.
So
I have all the information.
We don't actually know, but my prediction is it's going to be a landslide victory.
It doesn't. I don't think it's that. It wouldn't be hard to believe. Rekkles?
I think we had the same.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Maybe we put Cabochard.
But I think we put Cabochard for
he was number 2
MVP, and then we put Selfmade for.
Yeah, I think so.
Rookie.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think unfortunately for Cabo, but he did pull up great performances so far. So we'll see if he snags away that MVP, although not being in the playoffs anymore. We'll see in a couple of weeks. Now, of course, speaking about Nemi. Oh no, I did that by accident. The LEC organizations are also making waves in the regional leagues. Of course, Nemesis comes from Superliga. Splice Vipers, Origin Barcelona are now facing off in the Superliga Orange Finals in Sevilla this Sunday. So the fish show, break it all down for us.
Everything.
Everything.
It's actually been a really fun split to watch. We had Splice Vipers barely making playoffs. They actually got through due to tiebreaker rules where they were just better. Like in a 3-way tie, they were better. So they got in as number 6. 3-0 Mad Lions, like stomped them basically.
Some well-known names over there?
Oh, of course. I mean, so Freeze in the bot lane. Everyone will know Orome already played a game in the LEC. Tier Wolf came over from Latin America, so that is also like kind of an interesting name to follow. And Hatrix has been in Spain for a while now. So they're really, really good, which is why they end up finally showing up big time here in playoffs and just kind of stomping their way through.
So am I correct in saying that it was a bit of a surprise that Origin Barcelona did so well?
I think if we look at predictions from the Spanish casters and analysts in the start, not a lot of people predicted a lot from Origin BCN, but they have some insane scouts like that can build a lineup that just delivers instantly.
You?
Well, I definitely don't want to take all credit there. AOD, actually our coach, just got coach of the split in Spain. He did a great job together with our manager as well, Javier, when it came to kind of finding names that. Well, okay, I can't say it in Spanish. Chavez, easier.
Sorry.
We ended up, we wanted a mix between some really young players. So we have a 17-year-old top laner as an example. I don't think a lot of people heard about Sugenda before. And then some experienced players for LVP, like a Royson who was on Giants last year and made it pretty far as well. So it's a good mix of experience with some young players. Then we have Sansara, our Russian jungler, who is crazy, basically, in everything he's doing. Insanely unpredictable. Will just pull off random stuff. People permaban like Iron and Nunu and something stuff like that against him. He got MVP for the split. So we have actually showed up big time as a team, which I think is why we make the final.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Also, since we've seen how many people come over from Superliga, it's always nice to keep an eye on the league over there.
I like it. Viewership has been great too, man.
Yeah.
They've done a
you
great
have great
job.
casters, great production, great teams. So yeah, good stuff over there. Yeah, final notes. We are going to sign off, but you guys are taking on SK or Splyce. Any issue whatsoever, or?
You want? Should
You
I?
can say what you like.
Okay. Well, as Julie said before, there is a world where we, don't do our preparation well now in this upcoming week, and we falter in the next week. But I think all of us are here to win the whole thing, so we're not gonna be satisfied with today's victory or take it for granted that we're gonna win next week. I think all of us are here to do our absolute best and win every game that we play. So it shouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, we are a little bit monkeys, I guess, about SK because we are 0-3 against them, and they are just a little bit scary, I think, in how they play. I don't personally feel scared about Splyce at all. I would have preferred to play them over Vitality, so if they were to go through, I'll be very happy. But if we were to go up against SK, I feel like containing Selfmade is going to be a struggle, more of a struggle probably than containing Cabochard, so we'll have to see about that one. But maybe Splyce gives us a good idea of how we could potentially do it, because I don't think it's going to be a 3-0 by any means. I think they might show a couple of games what you can do to shut him down, and then also him showing a couple of games how good he actually is.
Yeah, I think that's the projection for tomorrow, possibly 3-2 all-5 gamer. I certainly hope so, because you didn't give us a lot to look at today. So later tonight, though, it is also time for the LCS Academy. Team Liquid facing off against Cloud9. And if you missed anything from Fnatic versus Vitality, you can check out the rebroadcast after the action in Los Angeles. That was all from us here. Thank you, Hilly. Thank you, Rekkles. Thank you, Deficio. We'll see you guys next week. We'll see you tomorrow for Splyce versus SK. See you then.
Trade uses the Cutlass for the slow, a few more autos, wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time. Bwipo playing that one so well! No! Oh no!
Yeah, I'm here. Holy shit, I'm perfect.
Bwipo has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming in the corner. That's going to be 2 quick kills. Broxah is so incredibly low, but does have the ultimate available. If he gets killed, he will still be able to full channel the ult. But Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1. Broxah's going to be in a tough spot. He's going to be sleepy. He has to be dead. There's literally no way out here.
I can go. I have him. Yeah, we have him. Oh. He's dead, he's dead.
Nice. Yes, nice.
Can I dead? Can I dead?
Stop punch. Just on a tank. He flashed. Can we go Nash?
Okay, listen.
Fnatic absolutely dominating across both of these games. They are 1 win away from taking the series. And the hook, now landing it back, but he's going to give his own life for this exchange. The rocket comes in. Maybe they're going to be able to grab 2 in the end. Nemesis is going to cut through him, but the ultimate now coming in. We'll be able to finish it off with the help of Jinx, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Combos that forward. It's a very strong Kayle. It does get taken down. Nemesis on the edge. He's going to manage to live. He's been able to take it. Attila flashes forward. Once the reset, takes a lot of damage, though. Out comes the ultimate. Hook comes in. He's just going to keep it going. Does he get the chance to use the ultimate as well? He does. That's the double kill. Wants a few more. They're walking right into the fountain. They just keep feeding him. That's the quadra. Is he going to get the penta? Kill for Nemesis. The series is over. And a reminder to all of Europe, Fnatic did not come into this split to compete. They came to dominate.